East Hampton Town Board, we are live.
Thank you, Jason. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the East Hampton Town Board work session of Tuesday, May 5th, 2026. Michael, if you could please read the roll call.
Councilmember Flight. Present. Deputy Supervisor Lease.
Present.
Councilmember Rogers.
Present.
Councilmember Calder-Piedmont.
Present.
Supervisor Burke-Gonzalez.
Present. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So this morning, we opened our meeting with public comment. We ask if you want to address the board to please kindly keep your comments to 3 minutes. And then we have 8 topics. We're going to be discussing bids, a new litter action committee campaign. We're going to be doing public safety 2025 accomplishments and 2026 goals, e-bike safety, Knox boxes, tax exempt ADU after hearing discussion, the Town Lane Sculpture Park update, and the Water Quality Technical Advisory Committee recommendations. That will be followed by liaison reports and resolutions. So first, we'll start with public portion. Michael, no one signed up. Is there anyone in the room that would like to address the board? Jason, is there anyone on the line?
Yes, we have 2 callers. Let me go and get them on the air.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Hello, caller. It's ending 8764. You're on the air.
Good morning. This is David Buda. I'm calling with regard to the work session topic of the after hearing discussion about the public hearing that was held on April the 16th to create a partial tax exemption for newly created ADUs. I'm going to point out what I consider to be a stark anomaly. It seems that somewhere along the way, someone got it in someone's head that this state enabling legislation for newly created ADUs could somehow be perverted and twisted to encompass providing a partial exemption for the newly created affordable multiple residences. The affordable multiple residence, which the town has created by legislation that was adopted on February 10th, is not an ADU. Some people call the AMRs, or affordable multiple residence, a super ADU. I hate to be using all these acronyms, but that's the way it goes. They're not ADUs. They don't fall within the definition of ADUs as created and authorized by the town zoning code. It finally dawned on me that the reason why there are certain loose provisions in the town legislation is because it was intended by someone to try to stretch the state enabling legislation to allow a partial exemption for a newly created affordable multiple residence. It simply is not the case. It was never intended, and of course you cannot create your own town tax exemptions that are not authorized by state enabling legislation. It's interesting to note that on the same day that the state created the legal provision that allows you to grant partial exemptions for ADUs, they considered another, in a separate section of the same law, which was I think a budget reconciliation law, they created a separate exemption for newly created or converted rental multiple dwellings. Now, those were for large scale. They don't maybe apply to what the town is now creating and authorizing as a affordable multiple residence. But the point is made that it's a separate animal. It's a separate category of tax exemption, and you cannot stretch the law locally to create an exemption for something that the state has not authorized and enabled you to do so. So I'd ask you to reconsider. I went through the let's call it the legislative history of this discussion, the earlier memos that Mr. Reale wrote in January, and I do see that there was a mention of trying to create this exemption that would apply both to ADUs and to units in the affordable multiple residence zone. I don't think you have the power to do that. I don't think it's wise to try to do that. I think they're separate animals. and you're trying to mix apples and oranges, and you're going to get egg on your face if you try to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Jason,
Okay.
if you could put the next caller through.
Absolutely. Caller ending 3872. You're on the air. Hello.
Yes, good morning. Martin Drew, Springs. Yes, I'm hoping the board, I don't care who this applies to, whoever would like to answer this for me, could you please give us an update about what's going on at Rita Cantina in Springs? Apparently the police, Sergeant Nimmo, went out of his way to tell us the other night when we called in again about the continuing problems there, that the town has negotiated some sort of settlement with regards to the parking. So couldn't get that when I foiled it. Mr. Hampton, your town clerk, told us doesn't have those records. So I was hoping someone can confirm or deny if that's a reality down there, because last I heard we were tied up in some Article 78 lawsuit and there was some stay on the property. So where are we with that? Could I would ask, I guess, Mr. Ian Calder Piedmont as our liaison to update us. So I guess I'd ask him. Mr. Piedmont, sir, could you update us about that situation, please?
We will do that offline, Martin. One of the board members or town attorneys will reach out to you about your question.
Oh, no. That's the reason I called in to participate in these work sessions. I don't need you guys to escape to another room and try to answer me or tell me that you're going to answer me and you don't. So I'm going to participate in all these meetings, and we're going to participate until we get some real solutions, some real answers. So, Mr. Piedmont, I know your colleague, Mrs. Gonzalez, doesn't answer public questions, so I'm asking you, sir, directly. Do you follow those same guidelines in being our councilman, or are you going to ask me to go offline as well?
I certainly follow the supervisor's lead in terms of procedure. There's no settlement that I know of, but I'll follow up with you after the meeting.
All right, well, great. That would be that'd be awesome. It seems I still have a minute 20 here, so I'll continue on if you don't mind with my comments. So I just want you all to know that I've been in contact with the district attorney's office. I'm still waiting for Detective Woods to contact me about my allegations and suspicions about what's been going on there for the last 4 years. So just want to remind you all while I have a little time, there's a second stop work order. As far as I know, a certificate of occupancy has not been issued. I would like to disagree with Mr. Piedmont when he tried to tell me with the town attorney that it was lawfully existing. I don't know where you two come up with that determination. And the only certificate of occupancy is from 2005. So it's almost, I guess they use in college is laughable, or is it laudable? I'm confused. But anyway, if you guys could update us accordingly, maybe each of you could respond in writing. I have notified each one of you in writing about the ongoing problems, and then I guess I could reply to them accordingly. We'll go from there. It's been 5 years, you know? We need some help.
Thank you, Martin. Jason, is there anyone else on the line?
We have no other callers.
Great. So we are going to move on now to our topics. And first up is bids. And welcome, Lisa.
How are you?
We don't get to see you here too often.
I have a long list.
Okay.
Hold on. So on the acceptance, we have EH 26019, which is the surf rake for the Parks and Rec. That's going to H. Barber and Sons in the amount of $83,291.10, less a $13,000 trade-in. The next one is we're accepting EH, excuse me, 26-010. That's the on-call window repair and replacement. That goes to Ronald Webb Builder, LLC. We're going to also accept a proposal from Land Tech per the sports courts and resurfacing contract at the Stephen Hans Path for the pickleball courts and the basketball courts in the amount of $787,175.25. We'll be extending EH 24-014 envelopes and business cards. That goes to Ridgewood Press, Check-O-Matic, and Concept Print. Also extending EH 24-017, which is the printing of miscellaneous forms. That also goes to Ridgewood Press. And we'll be extending the HVAC services, which is our contract that we have with Sag Harbor Village as well, which is EH/SAG 24-091. And that goes to Best Climate Control. We will be rejecting, unfortunately, EH 26-009, which is the Stephen Handpass concession.
That's the second time we've gone
Second
out
time,
for it. And
yeah,
it's funny
so-
because I ran into some moms over the weekend and they're dying to have a
I
food
know.
truck there because the kids are eating Mr. Softy for
So-
dinner.
I know, so maybe we'll go third time's a charm, maybe. We'll try it again. We're also rejecting EH 26-018, which is the printing of miscellaneous forms. And we'll be noticing the printing of miscellaneous forms again, the purchase and delivery of a personal watercraft, roll-off containers for sanitation, and then next week, that'll be in this week's Star, and then next week, we're going to be noticing the Fort Hill Cemetery internments and maintenance contract, because that is expired as of this year.
Great. Anyone
Okay.
have questions for Lisa?
We're
Thanks,
good?
Lisa.
All right, enjoy your
Appreciate
day,
it.
everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up, we have the Litter Action Committee is going to give us an update and share their new litter campaign.
And introduce their newest member. Yes. Thank you for allowing the Litter Action Committee to present our concepts and plans.
Chris, could you just move that a little?
Plans for a potential litter campaign. When surveyed, over 90% of Americans feel that litter is a problem. And I have a feeling if we were to survey residents and visitors to East Hampton, they would say the same thing. Why? Because it's ugly. It presents potential hazards to people and to wildlife. It shows disrespect and disregard for our town, its people, and its laws. You just have to look over here because
Yeah.
it triggers.
As long as you move the microphone with you so that
Yeah,
we can pick you up on the LTV.
will do. So this is the problem. It's no surprise. We see this all over. Next slide, please. And where this comes from is people tossing their trash on streets, on town properties, in parking lots, on trails, frankly, almost everywhere, on beaches, almost everywhere. Next slide, please. This is becoming an increasing problem. We're finding, for some reason, after the snowstorm, this behavior of leaving bags of waste around is a problem. Next slide.
So Chris, I just want to ask, so people are taking the bags that we supply at the beaches, but then they're
Leaving them,
picking it up, the poop up, but leaving.
leaving the bags. We see those all over.
Yeah. We talk about that at the East Hampton CAC, particularly at Sammy's Beach. They leave
Yes.
the bags where the,
Trash can once was.
yeah, exactly.
Correct. This is another problem. Household trash is put into overflowing trash cans. Next slide, please. The problem of covered and/or unsecured loads continues to be a problem. If you look at trash that we pick up, a lot of it is boxes, bags of trash, wrappings from construction sites, et cetera, et cetera. And in fact, I was behind a truck on Springs Fireplace Road loaded with tires, and tires flew off the truck. Thankfully, it didn't cause an accident. But this problem is definitely one that continues. Next. So the Litter Committee in the past 3 years has focused on messaging. Next slide. So to address these problems, the tossing issue, we have signage. So this is our don't toss signage. Next. Cover and secure your load. It's the law. This is posted at the East Hampton Recycling Center, and there's a sign in Montauk. Next. And we focused a lot of our time on this one. See it and pick it up. We've hosted or participated in dozens and dozens and dozens of pickups. Next slide. We form partnerships with different groups. In this case, this is the East Hampton Sportsmen's Alliance, which has sponsored a number of pickups. The next one will be this Saturday at Gerard Drive. And particularly as outdoors people, they see the damage it does to wildlife. Next slide, please. We've joined in the National Cleanup Day, and in fact, East Hampton has designated to coincide with that the third Saturday of every year as East Hampton Cleanup Day. And typically in the spring, we've held no fling spring pickups and events to bring awareness to this problem. Next slide, please. So what if everyone picked up just one piece of litter is certainly one message. What if they didn't throw it out of their car? What if they covered and secured their loads? We'd have no litter problem. So how to get that message forward? We came up with a litter campaign. And we thought of the fact that in the past, other litter campaigns have had an image, and all of us remember the Native American with the tear coming down his face. That was very powerful. Lady Bird Johnson with the bluebell flowers and the highway, and not litter, but Smokey the Bear as sort of this image. So, next slide. Here's Sam, and here's Sam. You can see he's a very calm dog. So Sam is our motto, our mascot, excuse me. And what we're trying to do here is not message with words. We're trying to get people to go to the town, maybe website, but certainly Facebook, Instagram, with videos, with we all have short attention spans these days, so we're trying to keep them as short as we can. Using Sam as our way to message, don't trash East Hampton, which is our tagline. So what has been suggested is that we start with 3 videos that are available, and every week add another one. So here are just 2, I hope they play, of Sam in action.
Okay, and let me go and play them out. And give me a second, and hold up, everybody.
Oops.
Hold up. And it's just giving me a bit of an issue on this. Let me just go back. All right, and...
So I think part of the message, if Sam can do it, we all can.
Yeah, we're looking to put messages at the end, but anyway. Now this one was directed and produced by Francisco Vasquez. You remember Francisco?
And his age now?
He's now 14.
So he's a pro now.
He's a pro.
The pro level.
On that note, I'll begin the play. Okay.
So I think you get the gist. We're looking to have some that are shorter, funnier, animated, whatever. But that's our goal. Next slide, please.
All right, just share the screen one more time and you should be good to go.
Next. We would end each video with our tagline, and potentially another message, just some sort of one of our three, don't toss, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the goal. We have plans that we can now add, like I'm a member of Sam's team, businesses can become involved, we're partnering with ARF. After this, possibly add Sam and friends, so have other dogs involved. It can go on and on.
Could be
But
cats.
This is, we could do cats, we could do whatever. But here's Sam, if you don't mind, just.
I
Sam.
don't know. Let's see where you can pick Sam up on the cameras. If you, Emery, you want to stop the share?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Emery.
Let's see.
Give me a second, I'm zooming out.
And of course, with Sam is Jamie Becker, who is Sam's human friend. And I just hope that folks, you know, it's humorous that we have this message, and we're hoping to appeal to your sense of humor, certainly, but the issue of litter and the impacts that it has on the town, both to the environment and natural resources, to the view shed of a place where people want to come, and the impacts to the cost of taking up the litter is intense. And certainly if Sam can figure it out, we can too. And the appeal for me is for everyone to please think about, keep this image in your heads and think about picking up your poop bags on the beach. It's not enough to bag it, you have to take it. And if there's not a can, stick it in your trunk and take it home and get rid of it there. Somebody, and as you could see, all the folks that you saw picking up, besides town staff that we pay and have programs in Montauk as well, that all of us are paying for financially. All of the people that you see in these videos volunteer their time and go up and down all of our roads and into behind our restaurants and behind takeout places and spend their Saturdays and days picking up your trash. And I really feel like that's wonderful on your all part, but very wrong thought process to think that it's okay for a bunch of volunteers or town staff to go up and do it. So I'm really asking everyone at this moment, before you throw out something, throw it out on our town, to please think about your actions and just take it home with you, or just find a garbage pail. They're everywhere. And be conscious. We can be more conscious of our consumption and our waste as well. And that's a message we share with everyone. You don't see a lot of folks, animals throwing out garbage. It is our thing, our blight that we're putting on our town. So I hope everyone gets the message and takes that extra second to think about what you're doing. And please don't trash East Hampton. And I want to really recognize all of you for going out and, you know, besides all the work you're doing on messaging and everything, the fact that you go out as much as you do and actually physically pick up the garbage is really something that should be commended.
Well, I just would like to share, we have many people who stop us all the time and tell us that they do the same thing, how embarrassed they are by this problem, how angered they are by this problem. It's not just us, so.
Yeah, it's a huge issue that we can easily take. This is one we don't have to have studies and plans and have public hearings. We can all make this change immediately today. So I hope that you will. Chris, would you give a time where people will be meeting on Saturday for the next cleanup?
For the Girard Drive pickup,
Yeah.
It's at 10 o'clock at the point at the end of Girard Drive. And we'll then spread out to different areas, including town properties, which often are the worst because they're parking lots. And that's,
Yeah, and this winter was brutal. When the snow disappeared, the amount of garbage that we're seeing everywhere is really major.
Mm-hmm.
So please do your part. We can all take care of this as a community.
Thank you.
Yeah, please step up, Jamie,
To the
to the
microphone.
Oh, it's just short.
And this is Jamie Becker, Sam's human.
I was just going to say, since doing this, it's really interesting. But, and if everyone can just tell different businesses about this, because the highway department or Bistrian or Mickey's, we've done some videos with them, so that will come. But I'll go and do it with them if they are, if they want to do it, just to keep doing the videos and keep pushing it in. It doesn't take very long to do it. And I hope LTV, they're helping now so that they can put the videos together. But if you can think of any companies that would be interested to keep the videos going, and then just let me know and I'll just go over. It takes like a half an hour for them to figure stuff out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I would
Jamie.
highly recommend discussing with the Buildings and Grounds Department, and particularly Quasi Frazier, who is the head of our sanitation department that does all the refuse pickup in our outside areas. I've had a conversation with him about 2 weeks ago. Household trash in the areas, bagged areas, and the furthest reaches that we have, if it's Girard, Springs Fireplace Road, I was a complainant down there. Russell, you know that one on there. You see rat poison there, you see stuff, and it just fills up all over the place. Alleyway Brook Road, the pack in, pack out is something that will work if you change habits. But that household trash from either individuals that don't use sanitation or that are using short-term rentals potentially,
I've seen that.
it's terrible.
The car comes up, they go and put it.
It's
I
stuffs.
saw a policeman soon afterwards.
Correct.
And I told him, and he said he can't do anything unless he sees them do it.
Right.
Well, we'll continue to work on that because you'd be surprised what gets left in those household trash bins. Either way, it's one of my largest pet peeves. I was a complainant on a cause in which someone left their bank statement with their name on it. And they challenged me and they actually wanted to go to federal court. And in the end, they just paid the $100 fine. And you don't see it as much there anymore.
I think also fining is really important, that it doesn't get done.
Correct. Either way, that is something, because what that does, it fills up the trash cans, and then individuals that might be going there with their poop bag or their simple coffee cup or their bacon, egg, and cheese wrapper doesn't have the space. And a 55-gallon can gets filled up pretty quickly after a weekend in some of these locations that are further out. So I appreciate everything yourself and the committee are doing. I look forward to helping yourself and Kate even more so. Thank you for your help. And to you too, Sam.
Thank you. And I know you folks have met with Patrick Durenz, our public information officer. So, we're looking forward to putting these videos up on social media. Bob, did you want to come to the podium? You have to go to the podium, please.
Wait.
Bob Brody for the clerk.
Hi, I'm Bob Brody. You might know my wife. Anyway, so we need to use more sticks, not just carrots. We need to have penalties that are posted, penalties that are followed through. It took a long time to change the law from, to cover, as opposed to just, I forget what the right word was, but secure. But there's not enough tickets being handed out at the dump or the dumps. If there were more tickets being handed out, I believe the word would get out. Nobody wants to pay a ticket. So I really think that we really need to use more sticks, not just carrots. Also, if we could possibly strategically place garbage cans, this would have to be something the town board would have to discuss. But we just cleaned up Pepperoni's and in the parking lot over there. It was really a mess. Some of the employees came up to us and said that their boss had just talked about it. And they have one garbage can out there, they do, but maybe the town has extra garbage cans that could be put in public, it's not public, but it's private places, that the owner of the places would be responsible for the carting and emptying. Maybe that can help. And there should be more education on the carry in and carry out. either people don't want to pay attention, which is very probable, or they don't understand what the heck it is. And that may be the reason, part of the reason that they're not following it. Anyway, thank you for listening to us, and thank you for your time. Okay.
Thanks, Bob.
And thank you for all you do, Bob. In my liaison report, I'm going to talk about the East Hampton Sag Harbor CAC. And when we close every meeting, the committee decides what day that month they're going to pick up garbage along Springs Fireplace Road. And I know, Bob, you're always the one asking the question, what Saturday and Sunday are we going to do this month? And I'm grateful for all that you folks are doing to keep East Hampton clean. So any other comments, questions, or?
Yeah, look, I mean, this is one for me that's a social contract, okay? You drop letter, you pick it up. I mean, that's straightforward piece. I think, you know, I've talked about this in the past, you know, like, I'll be very frank with you, me as a person, like even in my own personal business, I'm not someone who really understands marketing and how it works. I don't invest a lot in it personally. You know, social messaging, I think it obviously does work because, you know, companies spend fortunes doing it. But I agree. I think enforcement here is something. I also said last time, look, I think there's pressure that needs to happen from above at the federal level, that more of the packaging needs to be biodegradable because it's human nature and accidents do happen that, you know, as we exist, we create waste. Some of it does fall by the wayside. I think there's a stage in this town where we as a town board really need to revisit the concept of, look, we are a tourist destination. How this town looks is, it goes hand in hand with people's desire to visit here. And if we believe litter has become that much of a problem, then we need to be investing in positions that actually pick up this litter in problematic areas more and more. I would prefer a situation where individuals are doing this themselves, but it's that fine balance. I think that, you know, what we're seeing out there is, for me at least, that it's getting more and more problematic. It's not working as it currently is. The education piece, it's been going on for years, great adverts, but people are creating more and more litter. If we truly kind of are looking to protect the environment we have out here, I think we should really consider like creating some of those positions, you know, formally or informally in partnership with other organizations to get the litter up out of the environment.
Thank you, Tom. All right. Thank you for coming in today, and please thank Sam, Jamie. I hope he gets a treat after this. So next up, we have our public safety, the 2025 accomplishments and 2026 goals. And Chief Michael Sarlo is here to talk about the town police department. Welcome, Chief.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Goal number 1 for 26 will be to increase litter enforcement.
Sam can.
I just do want to touch on that very quickly, though. We get a lot of complaints, and one of the things we really see is these remote areas that are not that easy for us to frequent as much as we would like. We do try to do some follow-up investigations, particularly when there are household garbage left behind. What our patrol officers typically seem to notice, and what the feedback we get, a large amount of this trash is the labor workforce who are transient and are not living here, but they work here. And they go to the takeout restaurants, the delis, the you know, all the gas stations and get food, and they tend to just dump the stuff wherever they're sitting eating it. Happens a lot. That's a large amount of litter we see. It's at when they go to work at someone's house, they'll park off to the side of the road and dump their garbage in the woods. Those are a lot of things we're trying to work on, seeing if we can keep track of a little better, but that's a lot of the litter that we see along the roadways. The other piece with the beach, we need a little bit more public information and knowledge about the bags for the waste. People think they're biodegradable.
Yeah.
I've heard it. People think that I just picked it up, it's the plastic bag is biodegradable, I'll just leave it here, it'll be gone and whatever. So that's a big reason why a lot of people leave those trash bags behind on the beach with the excrement in them. So it's just a little thing to piece that together as we move forward. And we will continue to work in conjunction with code enforcement on uncovered loads and do some directed enforcement in those areas as well.
Thank you so much.
Of course. So on to our Review of 2025. Again, I reiterate our mission statement. The mission of the East Hampton Town Police Department shall be to protect and serve the people of the town of East Hampton while enhancing their quality of life through proactive community policing with fair and equitable treatment for all people. I hope that our annual interactions with you as a board and through the press continue to reflect those values and the focus of what we do to try to help work with the community. Our 2025 accomplishments, before I get into the specific goals, I want to recognize our Police Officer of the Year for 2025, which was Officer Nicole Fierro. She led our department in arrests and DWI enforcement, had a tremendous year. Many other officers also performed outstanding acts of professionalism and dedicated service throughout the year as well. That's included in our annual report. Our 2025 accomplishments, our first goal was to continue to expand the use of technology to enhance patrol operation effectiveness. We implemented the use of both vehicle and body-worn camera technology to include auto tagging features. We updated drone technology and capabilities by adding improved equipment and expanding drone personnel assignments to incorporate both dive team and ESU teams members that work with the drones. Goal number 2 was to develop more police officers as training instructors, field training officers, and specialized unit team members. We assigned multiple personnel to training where both instructor development and field training certifications were received, allowing for expanded internal training opportunities with both current and future officers. We filled existing vacancies in our drone and ESU teams, including a new certified paramedic.
Why don't you just say what the ESU team is?
Emergency Services Unit Team, which is the emergency response unit team that does barricaded subjects, response to high risk, high threat situations, serves warrants, things like that. It's a combined unit that works in conjunction with East Hampton Village Police and Sag Harbor Village Police. And we all support each other and work together through that cooperative team. And they train once a month. They train several times a year for 3 or 4 days. They go upstate New York to get their New York State Tactical Officers Association training certifications. It's high level, really technical, tactical stuff that they do, and they're really excellent at it. So,
And Chief, could you share how drones have,
sure.
how that has worked with your investigations?
Yeah, drones just continue to become more and more important to our operations. They provide an overhead view of a scene. They assist us in search for missing persons. We've had several cases that we worked along with the fire department. We had some brush fires that popped up on that peak stretch. They were able to get the drone up very quickly, help pinpoint where the active locations were, and help the fire department get to them as quickly as possible. Also to continue to monitor them after the situation. We've been able to work in conjunction with multiple town departments with regards to, conditions during storms. The building that went down off of Lazy Point, we were able to keep track of how that was deteriorating and what the current conditions were. And we actually even have internal drones. We've had a couple of cases where instead of, hitting a door and sending the ESU team in to go to see if we may have a barricaded subject, we were able to actually get the drone inside and have it navigate the hallways, passageways, and get a good interior view of what was actually going on inside that location. Really increases officer safety, minimizes risk, provides a lot of good data and visuals for case preparation, court preparation, just continue to advance. We have thermal imaging, nighttime drones. It's really very positive steps for us as operational efficiency. Big technology improvements.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Goal 3 was to increase department training in crime prevention and community relations for department personnel while improving programs and services provided to the community in both these areas. Several department personnel received a multi-day training from the Department of Criminal Justice Services in crime prevention, specifically environmental design and assessment. Initial assessments were conducted by trained personnel at Spring School and helped improve their safety plans and site plans. We expanded the Department School Resource Officer program to include a first-line supervisor and certified 2 additional officers while filling a vacancy of a retired personnel associated with the program. So we continue to expand our footprint in the schools, get more officers involved on more shifts, have more officers trained as school resource officers, which really supplements our Juvenile Aid Bureau activity in handling juvenile cases. So goal 4 is to continue to host our Civilian Police Academy. We had another successful class last year, and we're on our third right now this year. It gets ready to graduate next Wednesday. Phenomenal program, great feedback. Lieutenants Alversa and Tierney do a great job coordinating the curriculum, bringing in all the instructors, and it's been a tremendous sharing experience with members of our community to both learn from them what their perceptions are in our policing and our activities, and help share with them what we do, how we train, and what our goals and mission are. It's been great. So, several department ongoing projects. On the next slide, we continue to work through taking over our 911 primary call answering. Our emergency communications dispatch room is in its final days of completion before it's ready to open. There's punch list items. Records management system and computer-aided dispatch system implementation, townwide communication system upgrades and expansion, our training center upgrades and instructor development, and Lexipol rules and procedures and accreditation upgrades. All ongoing projects managed by different staff members, personnel, all improving the efficiency of the way our department provides services to the community. We move into some of our key statistics. Just an interesting note, it won't really be reflected on these slides, but in our official report, there were several areas that showed a spike in crime reporting. There wasn't actually a spike in crime reporting. Our records management system separates out the way the reports are generated and now includes all charges on a case instead of the highest level charge. So in other words, if we had a felony crim mischief, we might not have the criminal trespass or the harassment associated with that in the way it was reported. Now all the charges associated are populating. So we're getting a little bit more in-depth look at everything that's reported during the event of a case. So it did show some spikes in a few areas. We didn't have a spike in crime. We had a spike in how it's being reported. So we're trying to make sure we clear that up with people so they don't think we've gotten this explosion of a certain type of activity. That's not what's happened. So if you take a look at our enforcement stats, we had 460 arrests, 133 DWI arrests, 324 vehicle and traffic arrests, 151 penal law arrests, and wrote 4,311 parking summonses. If you go to our 2025 emergency response statistics, we handled 777 motor vehicle accidents. And it's interesting to note, if you compare to 24 and 2023, it's not a statistical significant, but it's continuing a downward trend overall. I know it doesn't feel that way when you're out driving on the roads, but our numbers have really held steady and they've continued to decline over the past 10 years. We were up at about 1,000 accidents. We hovered in the 900s. We're down to 777. So it is an improvement. We do feel that a lot of the traffic safety projects that have been going on within the township, reconfiguring some of the intersections, lowering some speed limits, changing some of the directionals, and our increased enforcement efforts all combined together continue to help calm some of what's going on out there, even if it doesn't appear that way on a regular basis. We handled 1,881 medical aid cases, 1,788 911 hang-up calls, 1,522 alarms, and 91 calls involving emotionally disturbed persons, which are extremely challenging and can take quite a bit of our resources, training, patients, safety, et cetera, and are very important to us in how we handle and dealing with those kind of cases within the community. The next slide goes to our quality of life complaint statistics. Commercial noise continues to hold steady. It's about the same number of calls every year now since COVID ended. We get somewhere in the area of 75. That's just, it seems to be the normal course of business for the commercial areas that experience noise complaints, through their regular weekend activities. Residential noise, 554. Continues to hold steady, decline slightly. 282 parking complaints, 428 complaints about town code violations, and 26 speed enforcement requests. Interesting to note the town code complaints get divided out amongst the police department, code enforcement, and Marine Patrol, but they all come in through us and are logged through our system. So that's why they're all there. The next slide, some of our reporting statistics. Total calls for service, 17,442. We're actually at a 7-year low in total overall events, which is interesting to note, but again, it's not statistically significant. It's still holding in that range of about 18,000 calls for service per year. In handling those calls, we had 6 use of force reports completed. One officer was injured. We received 7 civilian complaints, and we received 19 ICE detainers, of which 0 of those individuals were held. We've been including this on our annual report for almost 10 years now. And the reason I like to just get out in front of that and mention it, particularly in a public forum, is there's a lot of miscommunication and misinformation out there about what a detainer is and what municipal police force can actually do with a detainer. Detainer is a notification that comes in during the arrest processing that there is a request to possibly hold somebody on a immigration violation. It is not a warrant. It's not signed by a judge. We have no authority based on 2017 case law and New York State Attorney General's guidance to detain or hold somebody on that. So we list how many we get. We really have no authority to hold on that. That's not a policy decision. That's not a sanctuary rule. It's state case law and it's AG guidance. So I just wanted to get out in front of that and explain that. Moving on, I wanted to go through a few of our, just to highlight, you'll see in our annual report, we have reports from our community relations and specialized units. We do a lot of training, put a lot of time and effort into interacting and engaging with the community in ways that are not just strictly vehicle and traffic law and responding to complaints. We try to have a positive impact within the community, provide training and interactions in many different ways. We obviously have our school resource and DARE officers, the Citizens Police Academy, the Retreat Community Response Team, Youth Mental Health and Substance Abuse Task Force. We have Child Safety Seat Installation Unit. We do drug take-back days with boxes located at numerous facilities around the township. We participate in the Latino Advisory Committee. We help run the townwide Heart Saver CPR and AED training program. We do interactive crime prevention presentations for seniors in the schools on things ranging from e-bikes, bicycle safety, to scams and fraud alerts and things like that. Our specialized units, as I mentioned, we have our emergency services unit, our unmanned aerial systems unit, our dive team, our motor vehicle collision investigation unit. We have motorcycle unit, police bike patrol unit, the Heart Saver AED program training, school resource officers, detective division, and police property room. A lot of individualized training, a lot of time expended outside of patrol on areas that are actually very important to the public safety of the community.
Chief, could you just talk about the motor vehicle collision investigation
Sure.
unit? Because I know
Yes.
that last week or 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
we had to close down 27.
Sure. So there are state mandates for the full accident reconstruction of an accident scene. If there's significant property damage, if there's what would be termed serious physical injury, impairment, or death, and or there is a commercial motor vehicle involved and serious injuries to one of the people involved, we're mandated by the state to conduct an accident reconstruction. There is I want to say a 4-week training class that's broken up into 3 different cycles. It's extensive, it's in-depth, it's technical, there's a lot of math involved, a lot of equipment use involved, and our detectives and several patrol officers and one of the lieutenants, we have 6 members right now that are fully trained. And it takes several hours to complete that investigation properly. The equipment used is essentially like civil engineering, where they plot the points of where the accident occurred, the shape of the roadway, any other obstacles or obstructions or things that were involved in the accident, where one vehicle may have ended after the initial impact. Ton of points of data that I can't get completely into, but it's extremely important that it's done properly, particularly when it's dealing with serious physical injury or death. So it does take a significant amount of time and effort. We work in conjunction. Our officers went out and assisted the village with their case that they had about a month or so ago. And you know, that it's an area of expertise that takes a significant amount of routine training and maintenance to be proficient with the equipment, and also takes a teamwork effort of our detectives and the officers to do it properly. This is how they come up with the estimate of the speed of the vehicles involved, the point of contact, any other aggravating factors, things like that. It's extremely important, especially in serious injury and death cases. So
And you actually, the one on that peak
Yeah.
was serious injury
Very
and there
serious.
was a commercial
Both.
vehicle.
Yeah, so in conjunction with that, we work with Suffolk County Police, and their motor carrier unit comes out and does an inspection on the commercial motor vehicle as well. They're specifically trained in looking at the oversized commercial vehicles and the brakes and, all the equipment that goes into that their expertise is needed for those kind of things. So,
Thank you.
yep. Very briefly, our goals for 2026. Goal 1 is to continue expanded use and implementation of updated technology, specifically information sharing and real-time translation services. Goal 2 is to expand community outreach and awareness efforts. Goal 3 is to fill all uniform staffing positions created through expected retirements and personnel expansion. Thank you to the 3 extra places that were put in the budget for this year. It continues to allow us to grow and meet the demands. We're currently working with Suffolk County Civil Service, going through the hiring process as we speak with an upcoming academy class and/or some previously certified officers. We're hoping to get some support here as we head into the summer.
Are they looking to do an August
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
class?
Yeah. But there's also some other officers, either with part-time experience or for other former law enforcement, that we're working through interviewing that we may be able to bring in sooner. So we're going through that now. And goal 4 is to implement efficiency upgrades and training opportunities related to our dispatching services. With what we've taken on and the new responsibilities that we have, we're just constantly looking for ways to improve the services, the training, our work with the fire districts. We meet regularly. Just as a quick update, we've met regularly with Sag Harbor Village, their fire and ambulance, several times, and we're going over ways to improve and make sure we're meeting their demands and continue training and reviewing every call that goes out by supervisors to review protocols and procedures and make sure we keep getting better at it every day. So if anyone has any specific questions, that's it. I'll let the next public safety group jump up.
Anyone have questions for the chief?
No, just comment. I mean, Chief, thank you guys and gals for everything you guys do. You see the best of this town and also the worst, and it takes its toll on everyone, and it's an incredible role that these individuals fill. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Guys, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Marine Patrol. Our Chief Harbor Master, Tim Treadwell, you're up.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Is it still morning? Oh, it's still morning.
It is still morning.
Okay.
So the mission of the Marine Patrol is, of course, to ensure the public safety on our beaches and waterways, of which we have a lot of, fortunately, in this town, and to enforce all regulations pertaining to public safety on our beaches and waterways. These include town ordinance, as well as New York State navigation law, as well as New York State Department of Environmental Conservation law. So some highlights of our goals. I believe that we provided very effective law enforcement with the focus on safety, education, and compliance, and that's backed up in our stats for the year. We did over 200 boating safety compliance inspections. We instructed 5 boater safety classes, which is a record. We've never instructed that many. That was due to the new New York State Brianna's law. So a lot of people got their boater safety certificates for the first time. Even people that are veterans on the water have been boating for 30 years. And a lot of those individuals actually told me that they didn't think that they would learn anything in the class, but that they did, and they were glad that they took the class. So that was good. We did about 1,500 calls for service. Of course, the 9 search and rescue cases are also very important, along with the boater safety and the safety inspections. And we assisted 37 persons and 22 vessels on the water. So I need to say that this season was successful due to a very dedicated staff that I have of harbor masters, 6 full-time harbor masters, 6 full-time harbor masters and 10 part-time harbor masters, as well as 2 marine maintenance mechanics. So it's a group effort. and everybody worked together very well. And then, of course, I also, it wouldn't have been as successful without the assistance of other departments that we work with regularly, buildings and grounds, parks, the lifeguards, and of course, the support of the town board, goes a long way to make our operation successful, and we appreciate it. So I basically touched on that. I won't read it all line by line, but there is, the other big thing that we accomplished was we're going now into our second season where we're using the OpenGov system to manage our docks and our moorings. And I really think that that has really improved the efficiency of that. It gives us more interpersonal contact with the residents that have boats and moorings, and it allows us to be more hands-on when it comes to that. We also have really sort of streamlined the waiting list, so we have a much better perspective of where we stand on the waiting list now and who's on the waiting list, and better record keeping, in my opinion. So we look forward to that going forward. This year particularly, everybody that had already done it last year was really happy with it. The first year there was some growing pains, uploading documents and stuff to the online system, but now that seems to really have improved. We work really closely with the lifeguards and with East Hampton Volunteer Ocean Rescue. We do drills with them regularly. We would be at a loss without them assisting us. Next. So as far as goals go, I'm really looking forward to increasing my full-time staff. I'm hoping that we can get some coverage out on the beaches later, as well as get more boats underway. There's still a fair amount of boat traffic. It has sort of thinned out somewhat since COVID. It seems like during COVID, everybody bought a boat, but it does, but there's certainly a need for us to be out there on patrol as much as possible.
I wonder what with the cost of fuel, if you'll.
Well, we think that's going to be a factor, Kathy. That's absolutely right. Somebody else, I was just having a conversation about that, right? So we'll see how that works. Maybe more people will be buying sailboats now. I don't know. I also hope this season to also work and do more drills with other agencies other than Ocean Rescue and the lifeguards, like do some drills with Sag Harbor Marine Patrol, do more drills with the Coast Guard. Sometimes it's a staffing thing and a time thing, and it's always not easy to put together, but I really hope that we can do more of that, because then when a real situation occurs, we all have that training and know how to work with the other agencies so much better. So it's very important that we continue to strive to accomplish that. The other things that the board has been great help in is we've made some town code changes. Some stuff's just little stuff in the wording to make the code more clear. Some stuff I believe is important for safety. So I appreciate your support on those town code changes. One big one was just something simple, like having everybody that leaves a paddle craft on the beach to have an identification mark on it. So that serves two purposes. If it's not supposed to be there, we can contact that individual and not go through the process of impounding it. But also, if it washes up on the beach and we don't know if that person who owns it is missing, there's contact information so that we don't have to launch a search and rescue case needlessly. So that's all really, really good stuff. Next.
And do we need to do some social media around that, Tim, to educate people?
Yes, we are going to do that. I'm going to work with Patrick on that. And I'm going to get on that shortly and work with Patrick on that. So that all goes out. I'm not sure that it's codified yet. I have to double check on that as well, but we can certainly still start to get the word out. Yeah.
Might just be policy.
And that'd be really helpful to us. Because a lot of times, people, they leave, particularly their paddlecraft on the beaches, and we work with the trustees. I forgot to mention them, and we do a lot of work with it. And they, and so we'll impound and some of these vessels, and it's a lot of work to do that, a lot of paperwork. And then the individuals have to come and get them out of impound, and then they get a ticket, and then they have to go to court. And, it'd be a lot easier if we could just make a phone call and tell them to get their craft off the beach, yes. Anyways,
You said craft, right?
their craft, yes.
That's what he said.
That is what I said.
That's what I heard. I heard craft.
Yeah.
We were talking about the other thing earlier with dogs.
Yeah, right. Well, there's that too. And that honestly is also one of my pet peeves, we saw the other day when we were down at the ditch, and I just don't understand it. And then the people that dump their residential garbage in the cans too is just really, just really bad for everyone. See, I think I pretty much covered all of our goals, and I think I covered all of our accomplishments. Of course, training, training is always something that I want my staff to have, whether it's, like I said, interagency training with other departments or specific boat operation training and stuff like that. We continue to do that. The East End Marine Law Enforcement Task Force, which we're a member of, schedules a lot of that training for the different agencies on Long Island, and we participate in all of that happily. I think that's... Is there another slide? That's it.
That's it. Anybody have
Chief,
questions?
thank you. No, great job. Do you also operate the fireboat for the town in partnership with the districts, or no? Is that?
Yeah. So we so that's a joint operation. So we use it as a patrol boat, but there's members of the Montauk Fire Department that are authorized to use it for a rapid response. So those are all seasoned boat captains. They've all been checked off on the boat. They they know how to operate the fire pump. We're actually working on replacing the fire pump that's in that now, but temporarily we have a P6 pump, which is a portable pump, which the Coast Guard uses, which is also effective. So that is ongoing. And also the Springs Fire Department also, utilizes a boat in 3 Mile Harbor that we have, Marine 6. Marine 2 is Montauk, Marine 6 is Springs.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right. Now we're up to Fire Marshal's presentation. Chief Fire Marshal Buzzy Brown, come on down.
Okay. Officially, good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon, Buzzy.
Officially.
Okay, let's start it off. We'll start with our mission statement. Mission statement, the mission of the Fire Marshal's Office to prevent, reduce incidents of fire and increasing awareness and knowledge of both the residents and business owners with respect to fire safety by ensuring compliance with the New York State Fire Code, applicable codes of New York, as well as the codes of East Hampton. Our mission is accomplished through the fire prevention education, compliance, inspections, and fire investigations. We actively participate in our community and strive to effectively utilize all of our resources made available and provide safety and excellent customer service to all the citizens in East Hampton. Okay, next slide, our accomplishments. Our first goal was to continue the enforcement of our nighttime inspections, where we go out to the nightclubs, restaurants, and we look for fire code violations, safety violations, and overcrowding. For the 2025 season, we recorded 1,624 inspections, just exceeding our goal of 1,600. So we actually accomplished a little bit more than what our goal set out to be, which is really good. And that's due to our now staffing. We're fully staffed. Next goals, seasonal meetings, update meetings, to share information, increase cooperation between the fire marshals, town PD, code enforcement, Marine Patrol, town attorneys, building department, all of our town departments. Those two goals that I have next are pretty much the same. We have our annual meetings that we continue throughout the year. And then in the summertime, we step those meetings up to every week. And that cooperation between the departments is just, it's so important, and it keeps us all on the same page, and we work so much better together now that we have these meetings. In the past, they were few and far between years ago, and now this is a really good accomplishment that we're doing. Okay. Next goal, next slide, I believe. Accomplishments and goals continued. Continued enforcement and conducting of ADA and readily achievable inspections and buildings review and site plan reviews for ADA. We're able to identify multiple ADA deficiencies in several of our submitted plans throughout the year, and remediate those deficiencies. We search, or we review building plans, and we review the site plans, and we try to catch all those deficiencies before they even get to construction. Next goal is focused on the code of the town of East Hampton and New York State mandated safety inspections. We went from 630 commercial inspections in the year 1922 up to 1,715 last year. So again, with this increased staffing that we have, we are getting into a lot more places. We're getting into more regularly. And what this does is we're not out there doing it more regularly or going out there to get people. We're out there to help people. Business owners are all taxpayers. You're paying us for service to come in and make sure your buildings are safe, there are no violations, and that you are more protected from a litigious society. Mm-hmm. So we're not just there looking for things to try to get people. We're there to help you. We're here to increase your safety and reduce your liabilities. Within those increased fire safety inspections, the goal is increase the number of hotel and motels, or multiple tenant occupancies. And again, due to the increase in staffing, we've gone from 163 total inspections to 463 last year. And again, getting into these places, I can't stress it enough, getting into them on a more annual basis and getting in there, it lessens the violations that we find each year, and it just makes everything more safe.
Buzzy, you go into every hotel room? Is that how it works?
We don't always go into every hotel room. Sometimes we'll get there and there will be some that are, actually occupied.
Got it.
So we'll do random.
Got it.
Go random, and we take note of that. So then the following years, we don't double up on the ones we missed, or don't miss the ones again that were occupied. Okay, 2026 goals. First goal is to continue the pace of the nighttime assembly occupancies, the checks at night of the bars and the nightclubs, restaurants. Again, the numbers we put up the last few seasons are really good. I'm really happy with it. I'm going to continue that goal. Code enforcement meetings and the operations between, again, the fire marshals, code enforcement, PD, building department, town attorneys, and planning. It's just so important that we keep doing these, and that's always going to be a goal going forward, and we're going to keep on doing that. ADA, same thing there. We're going to keep up our inspections on the ADA commercial buildings, site plan reviews, and the building reviews. This is, always has been an ongoing important task, and we take it very seriously, and we will keep on focusing on that as we move forward. Continue to focus on the code of the town of East Hampton, and again, our New York mandated safety fire inspections. Again, we went from 960 to 1715 in 25. And again, with the new staffing, I'm sure we're going to keep those numbers up and may even exceed those, which were quite high. And then within the scope of, again, multifamily dwellings or the hotel motels, we still want to increase that number and get into those even more often than we're doing now, and keep pace with those inspections. That's about it.
All right.
Questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll kick off on this one. I mean, before I joined the town board and, your department became my liaison department, my interactions were through my business. And, as I've been on the board, learning about what your department does has been really, really interesting because there's so much more than just the commercial inspections. There's visiting the scenes of fires to kind of do your own investigations as to causes and future concepts of prevention. The concept that our fire marshals have to live within a certain distance of the town to be able to respond in a timely manner to those things. There's a reason why your group is under the public safety umbrella. It's as important as PD. My question for you is, what challenges do you see for your department kind of coming forward in the next year, next 5 years?
I think keeping the guys focused on getting trained, on moving their education forward. There's so much changing. There's we always have the continued education as far as code compliance. We have the 24 hours of in-service training there. As fire investigators, we have to do 12 hours of tested training during the year, as well as 24 hours of investigations that we have to log. As hazmat team members, we also have to go and get that certification, which is a 40 to 60 hour class to start with. And then we have to keep that training up, which I believe is 16 hours continuing education per year. We're also peace officers, where we went through the Peace Officer Academy. We have to keep all that up also. So it's a challenge to to keep up all the training, keep up all the inspections, as it is, I know, for all our departments, because it's a lot of state mandated things that we have to do.
Buzzy, I don't think you even touched on the tent inspections that you do. And have you been able to, I know the schools, their curriculum is getting, more and more packed with what they need to do for state education, but have you had an opportunity to get in to the schools in the last year or so?
We have not been able to get into there. We've been trying to revamp everything so that we can get in there. Some of the instances we've found with our old program is it's been out of service for so long that all the old materials that we based it on are now outdated. They're not even selling the support materials that we used to give out and hand out with the program. And it's a job to just revamping it, and some of the new standards also that they've changed on us. One of the interesting things were that they recommend we do not teach stop, drop, and roll.
Really?
I said when you start teaching that in that instant, the kids focus on that so much they forget about everything else you teach them, and they learn it in school already. They're teaching them, and that's like one of the basic things they already know. I was very surprised to hear that, but it kind of made a little bit of sense. Because you'll see the kids when they come in, you'll tell them to do some of the other skills, and they're stop, dropping, and roll when you're trying to get them to do other things. So they focus on that. That's just something.
So maybe we could use 26 to build up and figure out what materials we need to move forward. And for 27, we could get back into the schools, because I know that's, having been on the school board and how important that training was, and that you brought it, they were climbing through windows with that hat, you know what I mean? It was very tactile, and it sunk in with the kids.
It got a little bit to the point where they were, because of all the other demands, it was forcing us out.
Yeah, that's the problem.
But we'll stay on that.
Thank you.
I'm going to save my comments after all of you speak, to speak to you as a group.
Thanks, Buzzy.
Sounds good. All right, we're up to ordinance enforcement, and then you've got a double header. You have ordinance enforcement, Russell, and animal control.
Yep.
Well, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Russell.
All right. So our mission statement with ordinance enforcement department enforces all town codes and resolutions, including but not limited to health, safety, housing, zoning, environmental, noise, lighting, and permits. Our mission is to protect, preserve, support the health, safety, welfare, and overall quality of life of East Hampton Town residents through education, promotion, voluntary compliance, enforcement of the Town Code of East Hampton and New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code. Our 2025 accomplishments. In 2025, we successfully navigated the new OpenGov system that we merged into from Govern. With little to no delay, complaints were open and addressed in a timely manner. Despite periods of being short-staffed and navigating 3 changes in departmental leadership within a single year, our department successfully maintained its normal caseload, approximately 1,700 cases we had last year, without disruption or workflow or daily operations. Continued education and patrolling helped spread awareness of uncovered loads, gas leaf blowers, regulations, and there has been a significant decrease in tickets issued for the gas leaf blowers this past summer. We were actually about 60 tickets less issued. And then there's goals for 2026. A couple goals we have. We're trying to do a housing initiative. Primary focus is to enhance public safety by addressing overcrowding, identifying potential hazards, including smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, are properly installed and functioning. Identifying and mitigating electrical hazards or abatements, identifying illegal apartments or structures on the properties. It's not to go there and try to, convict someone or, write them a ticket for a violation. It's more for a safety approach. Continuing to work with the building department by assisting with the updated C of Os, certificate of occupancies, and helping with the backlog is a goal for us for 2026. Continue proactive education and enforcement to further increase the reduction of short-term rentals and illegal housing and apartment rentals. Possibly to work with the rental software company to help determine properties with ongoing violations is a goal for 2026 as well. Improve interdepartmental coordination and enforcement efficiency by strengthening collaboration with departments such as building department, natural resources, planning, highway, town attorneys, town board, and town supervisor to ensure consistent and efficient enforcement of the town and state codes. So that's all the goals that we have set for 2026. I'm sure there'll be a few more added to that as we go. The uncovered loads, the littering, that we were talking about earlier with the litter action committee is definitely on our radar.
I know you just did an education program on uncovered loads at the recycling center not long ago. You guys were there.
Yeah, so we consistently, we try when we don't have much downtime, but if we have a moment where we have a half hour, I try to get the guys and girls to go to the town recycling center. We started off by giving out warnings to people in the beginning of the season because it was a rough winter. A lot of people had a lot of debris to go to the dump, and you can see it start to fill up down there as well. But now we're writing tickets. I believe we're past 20 tickets that we've written for uncovered loads. There's 7 of us in our department, so with some of us focusing on the COs and others on art studio inspections that we're actually doing this year as well. There's not much time to spend at the dump, but we do make our, presence there by spending some time and writing tickets and educating people. We're also trying to monitor the power lines or other dead end areas that people are constantly dumping, debris, whether it's litter, garbage, or recyclable debris like grass clippings or leaves. So we actually caught someone dumping on the power lines about a week ago in the act, and we had them clean it all up. It was either clean it up or get a ticket. So they cleaned it all up, and it was actually coming from Southampton because it was over by Town Line Road. Yeah. So it wasn't even our resident dumping on East Hampton Town property. So,
good job.
Do you guys have any questions for the ordinance part or?
No, I've talked to you about one of my pet peeves is, commercial yard signs.
Yeah.
They go up for businesses out here, soft washer stuff. I know you're being very proactive on that.
Yeah, we took
so I appreciate it. It's a whack-a-mole situation.
4 or 5 of those signs down.
Yeah.
We had a complaint last week in Wayne-Scott, and I went and personally took those signs down. I was actually in the area. So they put them high enough up, we had to go in the back of the pickup to remove it. So
no, I appreciate your effort, on that.
Yeah, we'll be out, that's another thing. We'll be monitoring that and picking up those signs as we see them.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I'm trying to let everybody talk first, but I just want to also point out the idea that public safety isn't a job. as I've learned from dealing and working with all of you, it's a dedication, and it's really a special person that takes on this role. You're usually not meeting people in the best of circumstances, no matter what your role is here and your jobs are, but you do it with a really good sense of care for the community. Even for the violators. And it's really greatly appreciated. I can talk about how I feel about you all day, but I hear this all day long from our community residents, whether it be on the beaches or, people upset about town codes or working with anything. It's always, and the letters I see in the papers thanking people for the response that they had to an emergency, directly calling all of you out is incredible for the work that you do. But what I will mention right here, and none of you talk about it, is all the unseen things that you do on top of all the things that are seen that you do, like the work that PD Marine Patrol does on the special events committee, the hours dedicated weekly to make sure that these events are safe, the amount of time that we rely on you for your expertise in your areas to guide the rest of the committee that don't have these expertise, and that goes for a fire marshal as well, is really greatly appreciated and highly necessary for us to make good decisions in what we do. And also, Russell, you alluded to it, but what people don't know is if we go out for an RFP, you alluded to the short-term rentals, which will be coming back soon with a recommendation to the town board. Your time on that is invaluable. It can't be calculated, because the input that we get from people working in the field to make the best selections, even for vendors that we're going to use, is really greatly appreciated, and we couldn't do the work without you. So I couldn't get through all of you, but I just wanted to thank you for all that you do.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. So I'm going to move on to animal control's accomplishments for 2025. All dogs impounded thus far were either claimed by the owner or placed with a rescue. No dogs were euthanized.
Thank goodness.
We participated in 2 rabies clinics held by East Hampton Veterinary Group offering dog licensing. I believe there's another one coming up soon.
Yes, I'm going to mention it. It's May 17th, and I'll talk about it in my liaison report.
Yeah, I'll make sure Heather notifies Patrick Duran so we can,
that's great.
Put a posting on the Facebook page. We located a very scared ARF dog named Felipe, who had been saved from a puppy mill, escaped from his adoptive owners, had since been readopted. Worked with Suffolk County DA's Beast Unit on a welfare neglect case regarding a French bulldog with an untreated facial tumor. And then we also assisted East Hampton PD with a dog abandonment case, and the owner was arrested from East Hampton PD. So those were the accomplishments for 2025. And then the goals for animal control: maintain and increase routine patrols and ensure consistent completion of daily activity reports. Expand public outreach efforts to better inform residents about local ordinances, licensing requirements, and available resources such as affordable vaccination clinics, spay and neuter programs. Continue efforts to keep animal surrender rates and humane euthanization numbers low. Implement the capability to accept credit card payments for dog impoundment, boarding fees, and licensing to improve convenience and efficiency. Transition to a more efficient modern reporting system to replace the outdated FileMaker program and improve report generation and data management. So those are the goals for 2026. I also believe in June there's a town hall. They're doing like a workforce seminar or something.
A job fair.
Yeah, job fair. So I reached out to Heather to see if she can come to that as well. So we'll be in attendance to that.
Beautiful. And what we didn't mention is that we've been doing outreach. Well, David's been doing it with the Montauk Chamber, that we've got, I guess it's
This Thursday, 1 o'clock at the Montauk Library. It's a public safety meeting that we do in conjunction with the Montauk Chamber just prior to the season for chamber members and also business owners in Montauk to come meet the town of East Hampton, all our department heads and some elected officials, so we can all prepare and work collaboratively for the upcoming season, so we all can have a safe and enjoyable summer season.
Right, and we did it for the East Hampton Chamber last Wednesday. We met in this room and we had a good turnout from folks from East Hampton. And I think there's 7 public safety folks that came, plus town attorney, and it was very helpful, and I know it was appreciated, so.
Yeah, it's good just to get everyone on the same page for the summer. We prefer voluntary compliance. Yeah. We don't want to have to write anyone or ruin people's summer per se. You know, we want
for sure
safety, and public safety is number 1. So
beautiful.
Anything else? Thank
you. Thank you, Russell. Okay, so we're grateful. It's just hard to believe that we're in May and we're about to kick off the season. Are you counting the days down? What have we got?
Oh, to my next softball game.
All right, so next we're going to hear from Captain Gregory Martin on e-bike safety, because this has been a hot topic. I know in David's Montauk CAC and my East Hampton Sag Harbor CAC, and PD has been doing a lot of outreach on this. So Greg, we're appreciative that you're here today.
Of course. Good afternoon. No problem. Yeah, we just wanted to bring to everyone's attention more or less a public awareness campaign we've been ongoing, or that has been ongoing for the past several years, but it's been updated slightly this year, revolving around e-bikes. So we wanted to make sure that information is out there, and we're going to continue with that as the season progresses into next year, where I'm sure there'll be law changes that we'll have to address as well. All right, so I do have a PowerPoint here, and we'll get through some of the educational stuff quickly. E-bikes, the brief definition on the top here. According to New York State e-bike laws, an electric bike is a bike with fully working pedals that is no wider than 36 inches and contains an electric motor that is no more powerful than 750 watts. So they more or less broke down this e-bike into 3 classes as far as the definition. Class 1, to sum it up briefly, is with pedals, has electric power assist while you're pedaling. Can only go 20 miles an hour. Class 2, the same, but can provide power without pedaling. Only goes 20 miles an hour, 20 mile an hour max. And class 3 is the same as class 2, but can go up to 25 miles per hour. The exception with class 3 is that it's only authorized in a city with a population of 1 million or more. So that narrows it down to only New York City. They're not authorized within our jurisdiction or anywhere outside of New York City. So that, with those, I guess, class labels or manufacturer labels that are supposed to be indicating of that class, all these bikes have to have them on them. Whether or not you're renting a bike or selling a bike or you own the bike, it should have that class sticker label on it. The slides will show them. So that's it for what defines it. Anything outside of that, so anything without pedals that has electric power, anything that goes faster than what's noted here, in essence, is an unregistered motor vehicle, or is going to be treated as such, as far as enforcement's concerned. We do see a lot of what people consider to possibly be e-bikes, which is simply looks like a little mini dirt bike, fully electric powered with pegs, no pedals. That's in essence an unregistered motor vehicle. So depending upon speed and power, you might also need a motorcycle license to operate something like that. So we just want to make sure the public understands that outside of those classifications I just labeled off, it's not an authorized vehicle to be on the roadways. All right, a few questions going through that are common questions we see and have forwarded to us. Kind of touched on the first one here. Are e-bike and e-scooters considered motor vehicles? No. Now, again, I say no as long as they're within those classifications. That's all this is according to, for the most part, the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, which I'll touch on in the next slide here. The laws that apply, and more so the reason why I'm here right now, because some of this has changed. Primarily, and when this initially came out, it was a New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law. I noted some of this primary sections there and how they apply to e-bikes. More recently, being just this year, Suffolk County implemented a new code, which mirrors a lot of the vehicle and traffic law, but they did restrict some specific sections. We, as the East Hampton Town Police Department, can enforce the Suffolk County Code, and that is actively enforceable right now. So some of the primary, and I noted them here on the slide, some of the primary regulations that they did touch on with the county code: a helmet required for all riders. So with the VTL, the New York State VTL, it was simply 16 and 17-year-olds. Suffolk County now is everyone. Minimum rider age 16, so anyone 15 and under is not authorized to operate e-bikes. No sidewalk riding anywhere in Suffolk County. New York State has a very similar vehicle and traffic law section that mirrors that, as we do with the local town code. E-bikes may not be used on roads posted with limits above 30 miles an hour. So anything below that, they're authorized to be utilized on. And police now can enforce reckless riding, impaired operation, and fleeing of an officer. So the New York State vehicle and traffic law does touch on impaired operation. There's an element of that where you have to be involved in a motor vehicle accident for that to take effect. The new county code has an element of that where that's not necessarily needed. In addition to that, they have a reckless riding section, which is more or less revolving around doing wheelies or zigzagging, things of that nature, and fleeing of an officer. So if an officer is trying to properly stop you and you flee, you could be held accountable with a county code fine. All right. East Hampton Code is obviously listed on there because we do have the code section 95, which revolves around our implementation of e-bikes and how we could use them locally, which is more so not to be utilized on the sidewalks. All right, a few more questions. How old do I have to be to ride an e-bike? We touched on that. No one under the age of 16. This question comes to us a lot. Who gets a summons issued to an operator of an e-bike or e-scooter under the age of 16? That is more or less a New York State VTL regulated situation where if the parent or guardian is present, someone who's over the age of 18, they could be issued this summons. Locally, what we've been doing recently is more or less stopping these juveniles, if you will, and contacting parents and making them come to the location and turning that bike over to them. So if we see pattern problems or if they are involved in other situations, whether it be crimes or something of that nature, then obviously there'll be different course of action. But for the basic enforcement of the rule and juveniles on the e-bikes, that's how we've been taking the action thus far. As far as the public awareness, and I'll touch on a little more as we go along, but we've been putting out information, flyers, all this educational stuff we're talking about now to all the schools, the superintendents who distribute it to all the parents. Obviously, there's a large degree of juveniles, I guess you could say, in the school systems that utilize these. Understood. So that information is out to them. Next slide. Some of the more questions here. Class e-bikes legal outside of the city of New York. I'm sorry, class 3 e-bikes. So again, the answer is no. It just more or less gives a breakdown of the law as to how it reads with why they're not legal as a class 3 e-bike outside of New York City. Is an operator of a bike required to yield the right of way to a pedestrian? Yes. So more or less, the pedestrians would have the right of way. The bikes still have to follow the basic vehicle and traffic laws of the road, rules of the road. Is an operator of an e-bike required to ride single file on the roadway? Yes. New York State vehicle and traffic law. Can I ride, and again, we touched on this a little bit, can I ride an e-bike or e-scooter while intoxicated or under the influence of drugs? The answer is no. The initial law covering that was the New York State VTL. Again, there's an element of that. We have to be involved in motor vehicle accident. Suffolk County, their new code, they've updated that where that element of being involved in an accident doesn't necessarily apply. Maximum allowable speed of an e-scooter. So a lot of this also takes into account e-scooters, but the maximum speed for an e-scooter is 15 miles per hour. And again, the maximum allowable speed for an e-bike, dependent upon class 1 and 2, is 20 miles an hour. Class 3, obviously, we talked about that, not authorized here. 25. Required to wear a helmet. Touched on that also. With the New York State BTL, it is, yes, 16 and 17. Outside of that, now with Suffolk County's new law, it is everyone. Sidewalks, I'm cruising right through these, but sidewalks are off limits with e-bikes specifically. The next slide, if you go through, would just be our Section 95, part of our local town code that touches on that. As far as the town code, there's been ongoing discussions, and they will continue, about any amendments or changes that could possibly mirror the county and or expand on that. So right now, we're really putting forward the effort to get this information out there. Like I said, we are not only going and sending this information to schools, we're going to the schools, we're having discussions, we're doing educational classes on this, or hosting those. We have had our officers go through the business districts, East Hampton, Amagansett, Montauk, handing out flyers, handing out the information, educating people, while also enforcing some of these rules and regulations when we're seeing them. But we already kicked this off this year. We've been doing this actively. We try to get ahead of the season because we know the issues that we have. And again, we're simply asking compliance, voluntary compliance. It goes a long way. People operating within those parameters should have no issues. Just be safe on them. If you're not drawing attention to yourself with the reckless driving, everything should be fine, because that's in essence normally where those issues rise with the accidents and such. So the next flyer is our departmental English and Spanish. I'm sorry, the next PowerPoint slide is our departmental English and Spanish flyers that we've been distributing to the schools that I just discussed. Again, these have been amended somewhat for the county law that was implemented recently, but they were very similar last year with a couple amendments that we've been distributing. The community is well aware. We've had a lot of people, that's where a lot of these questions stem from, that come in, that we've been answering, getting the information out there. That's the biggest thing we're trying to do right now.
Great. Thank you, Captain. Questions?
Yeah, maybe I'll go last in this one, because I'm an active e-biker, and I have, Captain and I have had much back and forth on this.
No, this is, like I said, this is, I don't want to say early stages. The county implementing this new local code, brought to light some other opportunities for us to possibly visit and implement our own code amendments, or just enact new code revolving around this. And these discussions are expected and ongoing, and will be for some time. It's not something that happens overnight. But as far as enforcement and or regulation, we go with the laws that are on the books for now.
Yeah, I think it's important to start this program because, e-bikes have a use, and especially for folks that can't afford a car. It could be an easier way of transportation. We see people riding bicycles in the middle of the winter and every weather here, so we know that there are folks that could maybe benefit from an e-bike, but the safety points have to be critically involved. What I am surprised about, and I didn't know about, was about the operation on roadways with speed limits over 30 miles an hour. And I was a little surprised about that, because you can ride a bike right on any road. So I didn't even know about. So the education process is really important.
Yeah, it's the power and technology that's involved with an e-bike, and how it differentiates from a bicycle, and the way the laws are written.
Yeah, I've seen a person riding an e-bike on a sidewalk at got to be 20 miles an hour easily.
It's a challenge.
It's crazy to do that.
It really is a challenge, because when I talk about these classifications, we're automatically categorizing every bike we see as somebody that's abiding the law of those classifications, a 1, 2, and 3 max of 20 miles an hour. It's not always the case. There's manufacturers that aren't abiding by that and making these available, and they have the power and abilities to.
Yeah, going 20 on a sidewalk is dangerous.
Even just doing 20, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's super dangerous, and it should be definitely.
It's a balancing act. We're all well aware, believe me. It's such a useful tool to people, like you said, trying to get to and from work. Nobody's denying that. Absolutely, I completely agree.
Yeah, but the helmet too.
Offering that to persons as a secondary option to a motor vehicle, an actual car, I completely agree. It's just balancing the safety versus
I think the safety,
data that we collect and how things progress and how the technology advances. It's difficult. It's a challenge.
no, I think the safety rules are really important as this becomes more of a technology that people are going to avail of for sure. And I appreciate the education component that you're doing, because people don't know.
Exactly. And we're not looking to go out there and enforce these things when, one, they're brand new, and two, it's blatantly obvious a lot of people aren't aware.
No, not aware. I mean, how many people would get one for their kid, you know?
Oh, of course. And a lot of parents have come to us and said that. We bought them for them, not even realizing there was these laws in place. So again, that's another element of when we interact with these juveniles in the street, for whatever purpose that may be that brought our attention to them, you know, we're getting parents down there for the idea of, I guess, inconvenience them. This is your punishment, but here's the information.
Yeah.
You know, and that's all we're doing right now for the most part, unless there's, again, some other element at play. But, you know, bringing the attention and the enlightenment and the education to the parents, whether it be through the school system, because they are very good at disseminating that information, the schools, they're a home run, but getting to interact with the parents real time is rather beneficial.
Yeah, thank you for all this, because I'm checking off things I had no idea of.
And again, this is a brief little overview. We could sit here all day and discuss in-depth law
No, I'm
on
just,
e-bikes, but
I think letting
everybody
people
did that.
know what the code is now.
Put it out there, and you
super
could
important.
please review it, look at it more thoroughly, and there's a lot of information out there on
And if
that.
people have a problem with the code, that's where they should go, to their county legislators and have that discussion. So
Yeah, look,
for you, I think
this is like an evolving process, like we talked about, and things get implemented, and then we have discussions and see what's best for the community, and we continue down that path.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments? I will say that, I know, Tom, you wanted to go at the end. This came up again in the East Hampton Sag Harbor CAC, and they're very grateful. That we've got foot patrol now out there educating businesses and folks on the street. It's been noticed on North Main Street. That's where their focus has been, just sharing anecdotally that part of their concern is apparently the dry cleaner on North Main Street has had to replace his glass door twice because someone on an e-bike, you know, the door opened up and they ran into it. So it's just, obviously we're in the education phase, and they were really grateful that you guys are out there. And
some of these laws have been intact for a little while. We do enforce them. You know, there is always that element of ignorance of the law. You got to be careful there, but we really do try to get the information out. You know, we are going to enforce some of these things, but something like that, like riding on a sidewalk, that's been out for some time. It's part of the New York State law. It's part of the local law that we implemented, and now the county has also implemented, so you can't utilize them on the sidewalks.
Common sense.
Yeah. Tom, did you want to?
Yeah, so we've had meetings. I mean, it's got some interesting history here. I think one thing that's really important to be open about is that, yes, it's about safety, but there's not data here. When we ask for a stop sign, you know, we want to know how many accidents there have been in an area and what's the kind of the data behind it. The data behind e-bikes is relatively thin, because they haven't, one, existed that long, and two, like the ability to report on them at a state level is being kind of inconsistent. If you do look at traffic data for New York State as a whole, e-bikes are not the area of concern. It's actually drivers over 70 is the predominant kind of area where they're seeing like a spike in anything in terms of traffic data. So I just think there's a slight concern here that we're only listening to a certain proportion of the population as it regards e-bikes. I mean, CACs typically are made up of our older residents. I mean, we do have a large older residents out here, but when you talk to some of the parents, some of the kids out here who are using e-bikes, there are concerns out there that some of this is overly restrictive and, you know, goes back to how skateboarders were treated, you know, 20, 30 years ago, kind of vaguely criminalized an activity that actually got children outside. And, you know, now we're building these amazing skate parks out here. So I think that when it comes down to safety, yes, I'm behind it. There's some aspects of this law that just don't line up for safety with me. The inability of e-bike riders to go on roads where the speed limit is above 30 miles an hour is complex. We as a town do have the ability to change it under state law. The Suffolk County law that's passed somewhat kind of confuses it. We'll need to get opinion from our town attorney, but the issue is if we do allow it, does it open the town to liability? That goes back to what infrastructure investments we might be willing to make within our infrastructure to allow for e-bikes and bikes generally. Typically speaking, where we have roads above 30 miles an hour, we have existing cycle path lanes within the right-of-way that would fit county and state needs for what a bike lane would to be to avoid that liability. So the potential for us to allow people to ride e-bikes on those roads where the speed limit is above 30 miles an hour is a possibility. Is it the right thing to do? From my perspective, yes, I think it fits with our stated goals as a town, comprehensive plan. It addresses some of the most pressing needs we have out here, which is, getting cars off the road. I mean, how many vehicles do we see in the trade parade where it's one person in the car? I mean, just general vehicles. If you can reduce the number of single travelers in cars and get people onto e-bikes, that is only a good thing. As it goes back to safety, there's some inconsistencies here. Listen, I get passed on my e-bike frequently by people on racing bikes who, those guys can do 30 miles an hour. There's no requirement in any of the state or county laws for them to be wearing helmets. So e-bikes, yes, helmets. Regular bikes, no helmets. We should actually have code that requires helmets for all bike riders in this town. It's a public safety thing, and that's kind of laws I do think we can kind of go forward on. So I do have some strong reservations about that one specific element of the law because, you do hear from a lot of people, that's how they commute. A car is expensive. It requires insurance. It requires registration. For people who are struggling to make it out here, enforcing, them to take that other means of transport imposes costs on them. And if there's not a real bank of safety data that's demanding that, I just question why we're doing it.
Yeah, as far as data, I can touch on that a little bit. This is so new, and the New York State mandated method to report motor vehicle accidents specifically only recently amended that report that is done by all New York State police agencies or agencies that document motor vehicle accidents with a tab or a column specific for e-bikes. There's always just bicycles, general. So that data is skewed, and it's skewed because it's so new. Now that it is implemented, as we move forward, the data will be more accurate, specific to e-bikes and how that applies. But no, all fair points. Again, open to discussion and moving forward with this. It's difficult because the infrastructure townwide is also like Councilman Flight said, it's not necessarily easy for bike operators on all roadways, you know? So commuting the way you're discussing in lieu of a vehicle is great, but you need the infrastructure there to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's interesting because I read this. I didn't realize that we potentially had an option to have a more permissive local law than state or county law. I'm also open-minded about being able to use them on roads that are over 30 miles an hour, just because I think you need to get certain places. So I won't ask you now, Jake, but I would love to hear, whether we even have the ability to, change that at a town level.
But does the town have any roads over 30 miles per hour that's under our control, not county or state?
We'd have to look into that.
I don't,
everyone.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of it.
I don't think so. I think anything that's over 30 is a county or state road.
Yeah, but what I was assuming was that if it was in town, jurisdiction, even if it's a state road, that we would make the law about that. I don't know, but would just love to.
So whether we enforce the law.
Right. But if you're right, if it's up to I don't think they would make their own laws for their roads, but I don't know. So would love to get
look, it's something of a discussion on that level would be coordination with the town attorney, Suffolk County, especially with the county and the state to some degree, having implemented these codes and laws specifically to a speed limit set. Those discussions would have to be had.
It would be interesting to find out what the county based their new codes on.
Yeah.
Or the state.
We don't know.
I think it's new technology. I think it's, listen, when you have new tech, be it IT or these vehicles, there's a reason why you might want to overregulate at the start.
Well, I would just like to know why.
Yeah, no, I agree.
What, that's an assumption, but I would like to know, they came up with new codes. What was their basis? Did they have data? I don't know. But yeah, I can understand I mean, I would be in favor of definitely making everybody who rides a bike wear a helmet. I think it's, again, a lot of these things are common sense. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the concern for the community, absolutely.
All right.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain.
Thanks, Greg.
All right. We're back to our Chief Fire Marshal, Buzzy Brown, to talk about knock boxes.
Knox boxes. Which I didn't know what they were in.
If you go back one slide, David.
Okay, there we go. All right, I'm here to talk about now emergency access systems, key boxes, or as they're known as Knox boxes. Slide. Basically, this is the code of the town of East Hampton. We take it from the state code where it tells us that we may enact a law or code that says that we have to provide, or someone with a professional alarm system has to provide a key access box to the fire department in case of emergencies. Basically, the purpose of the article: provide means of emergency access, buildings, fire suppression equipment, fire alarm equipment, and information specified by the fire marshal. Okay, next slide. What's required? A key lock box. And what we're looking for is a UL listed box or container approved by the fire department. Right now, there's one brand out there, it's called Knox, K-N-O-X. That is the industry standard and what is accepted in East Hampton right now is the Knox box system. Okay. Who is required to have them? All commercial premises that have an alarm system that is operated or monitored by an alarm company. If you have that type of system, you have to have a Knox box on your building. All new residential construction and existing residential construction for which a building permit is issued or renewed subsequent expansion of a residence shall comply with these requirements. As of right now, residents, your home family, if you go out and you have an alarm system put in, right now you are not required to have a Knox box. It's only if you are under new construction or if you have a building permit for your home where you're adding these type of systems or part of it is going on. I highly recommend that you have one, whether or not it's new construction or not. And we'll get into that, why we have them. Okay. Next slide, the key box or the Knox box. And the reason why we have them is if you have your alarm system goes off in the middle of the night and the fire department comes to check to see if there's a fire, if you're away, if you're not at home, the fire department can't necessarily get into your home because it's locked up. So in the past, what they've done is they've looked around, see if they could find smoke or any signs of fire, look through the windows possibly. And what has happened is in the past, people have done it, the fire department's gone, showed up, can't see any smoke or fire. They'd leave and clear the scene, and then hour later, the place is on fire. Now, with these lock boxes or these lock cylinders, they're like a little vault that goes onto the side of the house or building. Let's see. Go to the next slide. And what we do is these Knox boxes will hold the keys to the house, any keys inside the buildings or businesses, so that the fire department can get access to any room or any area in the buildings. The key is in a lockbox also in their vehicles. It's in a vault. So the firemen aren't just carrying around a bunch of keys to get into the Knox box. When they respond to an alarm, they have to punch in a code in their vehicle vault to pull that key out. It gets registered when it was taken out, where it was used, and then when it's put back in. So there's no issue of who had that key when they used it. Okay, and also the location of these Knox boxes, where we want them, it's this example here, and it shows we give a spot, we say we want it within 3 feet of the front door, no lower than 5 feet, no higher than 6 feet. Now, if there's for some reason you can't put your Knox box within that area, you would have to reach out to the fire department for a suitable location or one that they would agree on. But the reason why we want them in this one area is so that they're all consistent and we're not looking around for different locks boxes or where they might be. And again, if there's a reason why, if it's a glass panel or some reason architecturally that you can't put one right there, reach out to your local fire department and they will come up with a location with you. Okay, next slide. Knox box again, which I said that's the brand name. Next slide shows you a picture of the Knox box and what it is. It's that small little vault on that. That's usually my typical scenario. What we see is a smaller vault that will hold several keys, 2 or 3 keys, and whatever note or alarm codes that you may have to put in there for the fire department when they access your building. And again, the fire department is the only one with those keys, and they are keyed specifically to your district. East Hampton, Amagansett, Montauk, each one has a different key for their fire district. So East Hampton's key cannot open up Montauk's. Montauk cannot open Amagansett. So only the specific chiefs can open those boxes. Again, next slide, typical Knox box. Next slide shows you multiple applications. Some buildings, like next door, 300 Pantago, we have multiple tenants. So we have a little bit bigger of a box or a little bit bigger of a Knox box that will hold multiple keys and will hold multiple notes and instructions for the different tenants to get in there. And again, what this does, it's going to save you money from the fire department showing up and not being able to access your house, and God forbid there be a fire because they have to leave, or they're going to knock your door down and cause a lot of damage to get into the house. These Knox boxes, good solution. And any questions?
Thank you for doing this, David. I think one of the reasons we wanted to do this presentation is that we've heard from the fire chiefs that, there's some misunderstanding from some of the commercial operators as to if they're required to have one, but also not having the right key in the Knox box when there is a situation. So, part of the discussion we as a board are kind of looking at with David is, for the fire marshal's office to have the ability to carry Knox box keys as well. So when they do their annual inspections, this could be part of the check that they potentially do on the commercial establishments, just to ensure that that access is there. I mean, beyond property damage, there's public safety issues as well here. God forbid someone's in the building, in that situation, you need to get in fast. So having the Knox box is key. The cost of them I installed one a few years ago on one of my properties. It's about $450. I don't think it's changed that much. Replacing your door will cost you thousands of dollars. Yeah. So worthwhile investment.
And you bring up, the good points as to, it's going to save you the money. It's going to have, give the fire department instant access to get into your house. It's going to save them time, stop that fire from spreading or getting worse or getting them in there. They work really great. And again, as Tom said, we are in the process of getting the keys to each of the districts. We're going to put the vaults in vaults in our vehicles so that we can go when we do our commercial inspections. We'll only be doing the commercial side of it, not the residential. But what we can do is then help them maintain it. When we go there, we can open them, ensure that the keys are there, that any notes are there. We already have our first key. We have a key for Amagansett. Knox has already responded. The fire departments are applying to Knox to have them give us the keys so that we're allowed to carry the key also. And again, one of the issues we're finding in Montauk too is because of more of that salt air and salt weather, that some of those boxes, if they're not getting open regularly, they're rusting and freezing up. So then when there is an incident, the fire department can't get into them. So I can see us carrying around a little can of WD-40 when we go do this. But that will be an important thing for us to do, I believe, moving forward. Good idea.
Dave, what about gates? I think keys are gates.
Yes, they make it's the same exact key. It's a Knox key, and we can require that. The other thing that we do with gates too is there is a siren sensor that they put on some of them that emergency vehicles come up, hit the siren for a certain amount of time, 15 to 20 seconds, and that will set the alarm off to open the gates. But if they don't have that, we require the Knox key. And it's the same exact key as the Knox box, but they open a gate.
That's in the code? It's required in residential and commercial?
Yes, they can have there's two different methods. They can have the key, unlock key right there at the gate, like when you open a key code, or on the actual piston that opens the gate, they'll put a padlock on there, which is a Knox padlock, which is the same key to unlock that padlock, and then it disengages the hydraulic piston so they can open the gate. So there's 3 different methods that we'll use for gates.
Thank you.
Thanks, Buzzy.
Thank you. Okay, all right, so we spent the morning talking about public safety, and now we're going to switch gears. And we have our special counsel here for housing, Ed Reale, to talk about the tax exempt ADU after hearing discussion. Welcome, Ed.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So to put this in context, on April 16th, the town board had a public hearing on the proposed local law that would implement the provisions of real property tax law 421P, which authorizes municipalities to adopt a law granting real property tax exemptions for newly created ADUs. In brief, that exemption would apply to the increase in the assessed value of a property resulting from the construction of an ADU up to $200,000 in additional market value. So that's what the hearing was about. There was one commenter at the hearing, no other comments. I would make a general point. There are several comments, but a general point about the entire picture. The comments that were made at the public hearing need to be addressed in the sense that this is simply a tax exemption that we were passing. Didn't create new laws about ADUs or other uses of property. Didn't change any of those provisions. It simply says the assessor can grant a tax exemption for newly created new residential units. That's all. Their first comment was the exemption is inconsistent with and contrary to the town code ADU rules, limiting ADUs to one person or one per property. That was the first comment. The state law that created this exemption expressly provides that the exemption is available to residents for the creation of one or more, this is a quote from the state law, one or more additional residential units on the same parcel as the pre-existing residential building, the principal building. So to address the comment, sorry, it doesn't limit it to one per person. The state law specifically says you can have one or more. The town code section 255.1163, which is our accessory dwelling unit provision, has a limit of one new unit per property, but it was intentionally not included in this tax exemption law because the exemption also has application to the town's new affordable multiple residence law, which was recently passed as well, which allows for more than one additional unit on a residential site. The second comment was the legislative intent section of the local law should be amended to state that only ADUs that fully comply with 255.1163, again, the accessory dwelling unit law, are eligible for this exemption. First of all, the legislative intent is not enforceable law, just to be clear. But to add to that, the state law and the proposed local law enabling the state law is applicable to situations other than that specifically set forth in the ADU section of the town code. Again, to the affordable multiple residence law. So to address the comment that it should be amended to state that it only applies to ADUs, it doesn't, it applies to affordable multiple residences as well. Compliance with the town code is required by the proposed local law and doesn't need to be in the legislative intent. An application cannot be made for the tax exemption under the new tax exemption provisions unless a certificate of occupancy is issued to that homeowner for the ADU or the multiple residences. Additionally, Section 38 of the new proposed code states that no exemption shall be granted to a property where there is a violation of any local municipal code or local law. Excuse me. The proposed local law directly addresses the situation where a property is no longer being used for residential purposes. The exact language of 421P, the state law, alleged by the commenter at the public hearing as being ignored in the local law, was virtually restated verbatim in the proposed local law, which says in our new proposed local law, the building granted an exemption pursuant to this article ceases to be used primarily for residential purposes, or title thereto is transferred to an other than the heirs and distributees of the owner, the exemption granted shall cease. All the protections built into the town's ADU and affordable multiple residence local law, in addition to the fact that you have to get a permit for either an ADU or affordable multiple residence from the town housing office, for either use, further serves to enforce the proper use of this particular rental dwelling, whether it's an ADU or the AMR or something else that we do to add houses that this law could be applicable to, for the proper allowance of the tax exemption. So again, it doesn't change all the other local laws that are in place. The requirements for eligibility, the requirements for getting permits, the requirements for the housing office permit. The tax exemption has nothing to do with that. It merely awards that tax exemption if it's a newly created one after if it's passed by the town board. The town code provisions regarding ADUs and affordable multiple residences do not permit rentals for a duration of less than 1 year without town board permission. That's in both those sections of the code as well. Comment 3, the state law provides that the property, quote, must be used primarily for residential purposes, which to my mind, this is quoting the comment, means that the property must be occupied by the owner. There's no single definition of the word residential in real property tax law, as it's a very broadly used term in state law, all sorts of areas of state law. Throughout New York law, the unqualified term residential encompasses a wide variety of housing types: single-family, multifamily, high-rise apartment buildings, owner-occupied, rental units, condominiums, and co-ops. When the state legislature intends to impose a specific limitation, such as restricting a benefit to a particular type of residential occupancy, it does so expressly, it states it. But for example, in the star exemption of the tax law, it's specifically limited to a primary residence. It doesn't just say residential. There's no reasonable interpretation in common law or the legal context under which the term residential is limited to meaning occupied by the owner. Moreover, the instructions to the tax exemption application that were also quoted by the commenter, that the property must have been added, well, the instructions say the property must have been added to a residential building that was designed and occupied exclusively for residential purposes by not more than 2 families. So clearly, the application in the state law wasn't anticipating that it had to be owner occupied. And there's nothing there in the state law or the application that it indicates that it has to be. Comment 4, the state law provides that the property cannot be used for income producing purposes. Again, the fact that it allows for a 2-family dwelling, the state law allows for a 2-family dwelling, kind of implies to me that you can have some income from that. Otherwise, you're offering free rental. It's just illogical. I don't know how else to address that comment. There's no limitation anywhere in the state law 421P or the Department of Taxation and Finance application instructions on the amount of income that may be derived from either a single family or 2-family residence, which is the principal building. It imposes no income restrictions on either the owner or the principal residence or any tenant as a condition of eligibility for the exemption. Nothing in the state statute, even implied or expressed, suggests that a principal resident may not generate income. On the contrary, the state's express inclusion of two-family residences as eligible properties indicates that income-producing uses is contemplated and permitted by the state law. In addition, there's the pending ADU regulations that are before the board now for consideration no longer require that the principal residence be occupied full-time by the owner. In fact, if you pass that, you'll be able to rent it. So that's consistent with the state law and the tax exemption. And those, if passed, the new ADU rules will still apply to this tax exemption as well, because you can have income-producing property. The proposed local law fails to state the above aspects of the state law, and everything we just talked about, he reiterated at the end. I don't think I need to repeat everything we just said. The proposed local law merely makes available to residents of the town of East Hampton a tax exemption that can only be created by the state. Towns, municipalities are not permitted to create taxes or tax exemptions. They have to be created by the state. The state legislator and governor decided to allow exemptions for new ADUs and other multiple residences, and the town has to follow those dictates. So you don't have an option there. To ensure that the full substance and requirements of the state statute apply here in the town of East Hampton in the proposed local law, it incorporates the state law by reference. Section 33 of the proposed local law says that the exemption provided under this article is authorized and shall be implemented pursuant to the terms of state law, section 421P. Section 35 of the proposed local law says that the town assessor's office shall approve, implement, and revoke 421P exemption status in accordance with this article and the terms of New York State real property tax law 421P as applicable. I have no other responses to those comments.
Well, thank you, Ed. You know, first of all, thank you for your thorough work on this and for all that you've done for housing in East Hampton. You've been really great to work with and incredibly helpful. As I said, when this was introduced, I support this law. I support giving the maximum tax exemption we can, because I think ADUs are really an important piece of the puzzle of solving our affordable housing crisis. So I support this going forward for sure. I also appreciate that we can extend it to affordable multi-residence. I think that that's another tool in our toolkit to address affordable housing needs. And if we're able to give somebody a tax incentive to help contribute to a solution that the town needs, I'm 100% in favor of that. I do have just one question, though. In that first comment, you quote, "To residences for the creation of one or more additional residential dwelling units on the same parcel as a pre-existing residential building." I'm sorry that I didn't ask this before the meeting. I'm just sort of catching it as you were speaking. Does that mean that only an ADU that was added, like if somebody builds a new house with an ADU, do they not get an exemption there?
My reading of this is you have to have a house there in the first place. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think that changes the law. We'll just need to speak. I think you've written it correctly. We'll just need to make sure that we work with the assessors, and that's my liaisonship to apply it properly.
Yeah. I mean, in other words, if someone wanted to build a new house and an ADU simultaneously, they can do that under the other parts of the code, but they can't get a tax.
There's no tax exemption. And similarly, if somebody were to build a affordable multi-residence that was, existing as in itself, that wouldn't apply. But if they built an affordable multi-residence behind an existing residence, it would apply.
Right. That's how I'm reading the state statute.
Great. So I'll just say thanks for that clarification. And again, sorry, I didn't sort of ask it earlier, but I'll make sure that the assessors, if this goes through, that they know that nuance.
Yeah. And the instructions actually quote that as well, the application.
Great.
Thank you. I fully support this law. I think that you only added to my reasons for supporting by your clarifications, and I'm happy that you answered questions that were asked. The taxes that we're allowed to exempt does not include school taxes. The schools, that's a separate entity. So we're talking about town taxes, and I think any ability to incentivize ADUs through a tax break, and I know that it's not permanent, is very helpful. I had a friend that just did an addition to their house. I don't even know if people realize what happens once they get a CO in the town, that goes to the assessor's office and then there's a new assessment. Because that person called me and said, hey, is there a townwide assessment? Why did I get this? I have no idea. So it's really important to have your type of clarifications and have folks understand that if you do put an addition or something else that increases your property value, there's an assessment component you should think about too. But I fully support, and I thank you for your clarifications.
Which is making, I wonder, would it be helpful to like kind of turn your memos into like some kind of FAQ for the website, for the housing office, if there's, you know, it can be a little nuanced. Obviously, some folks misinterpreted what we could do. Maybe that might not be a bad idea.
Well, I think it's a great idea, and I think that generally speaking, in fact, Ed and I were just talking about this yesterday, we have a lot of different programs that can be confusing. You know, there were different ADU support, you know, with the CDLI. I think I want to start an initiative to really clarify that and simplify it and get it out there for public information, and perhaps even hold, you know, a symposium or an event outside of a town board meeting where we can invite people to sort of explain the different affordable housing opportunities we're legislating. Because I think you're right. I think people don't always know. So
right.
Yeah, I think for the website.
I think that's one thing we talked about with the ADU committee, which is like beyond support for this. As we kind of roll out all these changes with ADUs that are coming, be it the financing options, the change in square footage, doing a more dedicated ADU page that has these FAQs on, really takes people through the application process, who can, who can't, what the requirements are, because I think it's getting more and more attention, and I think, you know, guiding people through it easily, you know, the fact, you know, how it's streamlined within the building permit process, you know, what we've done to kind of really move this forward as a housing initiative. I think, you know, that would be a good page update we can kind of bring forward.
And it's funny because it came up in my Latino Advisory Committee meeting on Saturday morning. I was going to do it in my liaison report where they're looking to put together a affordable housing subcommittee, and they were talking about doing videos, and this is something that we could be doing just mini videos on too. But I think in English and Spanish, right?
No,
So
I'll work with Ed and the housing department on this.
that'd be great.
I think the difficulty is that you want to keep it simple enough so people understand the opportunities generally, but then lead them to a place that gets into those details. Because if we write all the details down, it's going to be so dense that it'll be hard to. So it'll be a project, but I think it's a great idea and something I'll work on.
Thank you, Ed.
Oh, thank you.
So I think, so before you go, so we're ready to put this on. Can this be on for Thursday for adoption?
We have to do secret on this.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no planning or anything. You don't have to send it to the county or anything, but you do have to do secret.
Okay.
I will work with Ed on advancing it as quickly as we can.
All right, great.
All right, thank you.
And Ed works very quick, so that's good news.
Beautiful. All right, we're cruising right along here. And now we've got Andy Gates here to make a presentation on the Town Lane Sculpture Park, to give us an update on where things stand there. Welcome, Andy.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us today.
Okay, so just giving you a quick update on the Town Lane Park upgrades plans. Just to recap, the property is about 5 acres, known as Town Lane Park. We acquired this property in 2005 with CPF funds, and the Sasson Sulphur Foundation retained maintenance responsibility of the sculptures on the grounds. The town's land acquisition and management department has maintained the meadow by annual or as needed mowing. Proposed improvements to the park, which are to be donated by the Sulphur Foundation at no cost to the town, include driveway improvements, addition of a parking area, ADA compliant pathways, benches, and native plantings. Parking will accommodate 7 vehicles, including 1 handicap space. The wide paths will increase user access and minimize exposure to ticks on the property. Sulphur Foundation's contractors are expected to begin vegetation removal for the parking area this month, as long as all their paperwork is in place. In June, one of the sculptures is intended to be removed from the park for restoration purposes. In July, driveway and pathway preparation and base is expected to begin, and then by September, the restored sculpture should be back in place at the park, and benches will be put in place. This map shows just a general just a concept of what it would look like. You can see the access on the lower portion of the map where the 7-car parking lot will be put in place. So we're hoping to get started. They're hoping to get started sometime this month. Like I said, as long as all the paperwork is set in place.
Okay, so we're going to need a resolution, obviously, right, to accept the donation?
Yes, Scott's working on that.
Great.
That'll be coming to you soon.
Are there any other comments?
Oh, the layout looks really good, Andy.
No, I don't have any comments. I met with the Sulphur Foundation representatives, specifically looking at long-term maintenance of the vegetative plan. I think the plan right now is potentially see what the first plantings are and how they do with deer browse.
One slide more.
Deer browse in the area, how they might do in the area because it's a little arid in there. Add some more under, supervision and collaboration with land management. But overall, I think it's still a very good plan that they're presenting.
And as I said, the meadow area is mowed annually by our department, so plantings that they're going to do probably will be minimal and native plantings, hopefully some deer-resistant things, and we'll go from there, like David said.
And the ADA walkway, what is that going to be? What's that?
They're looking at like an oil and stone, I think is what they landed on, or they pressed gravel.
This could be pressed gravel into oil or over asphalt.
Over asphalt,
primarily
yeah.
what it is.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We had initially some concerns with that because at times there could be seeds that get pressed into stone that vegetation can grow on it, unlike with some of our other multi-use paths, which are much easier of maintenance. But overall, it's attractive and they're ready to help maintain for a certain period of time.
Yeah, I look forward to it myself. I think it will be a great way to bring people into the park and increase user experience.
Yeah, it's a beautiful park. I mean, the deer interaction there is huge. Like I got covered in ticks when I kind of went off the beaten track in there. So having a path that, really does provide separation from that environment, I think is critical here. I think I think it will encourage use of the park too. So.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you. Okay. Melissa, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Good afternoon. Made it to your agenda. So I'm Melissa McCarron. I'm a principal environmental analyst in the Natural Resources Department, and I'm here making the recommendations for the 2026 request for applications for water quality grant awards on behalf of the Water Quality Technical Advisory Committee as their coordinator. One back. Sorry about that. So the Water Quality Technical Advisory Committee puts out this request for applications, or we call it the RFA, 1 to 2 times per year to receive applications for grant requests with enough detail in order to make comparisons and prioritize projects. So we noticed this round in December of last year, and it was due February 16th. We had approximately $1.75 million set aside for these grants. The town and the Water Quality Committee do a thorough review of every application that comes in. We received 9 applications this round. 7 are being recommended today and 2 are not being recommended. So this is a summary of all the applications we received this round. All the ones in blue are going to be discussed in detail, and these are the ones being recommended. So the first 3 are actually reapplications. We've seen these before, and they're all septic upgrades, so I'll get into those in a minute. We had 2 new large-scale IA installs come in with the treescape condo units and an upgrade proposed at roadside Rita. which is the former Best Pizza location in Napeague. We have one proposed new injection-based permeable reactive barrier at Wainscott Pond, and a proposed long-term monitoring project of the existing permeable reactive barrier that the town actually installed in Ecobonic back in 2016. They also proposed an enhanced wetland restoration, but the Water Quality Committee is only recommending the long-term monitoring at this time. And then the two not being recommended, one was from the Nineveh Beach Property Owners Association for neighborhood rain gardens and road right-of-ways. The committee had some concerns over the cost benefit of the project, long-term maintenance, and effectiveness of the methods. So that's why that's not being recommended today. And then Clear Bays Environmental proposed a multi-phase project to reduce groundwater nitrogen inputs to Pond Lane Pond and Swan Pond. And this one was deemed ineligible because it's not currently linked to a water quality improvement. So we can't really fund feasibility studies.
Because this just, when we updated the plan, allowed them to apply, correct?
Yes, but in order to, so we do fund monitoring, but it needs to have kind of like an end goal. So we don't know what the goal is here.
Okay.
So if they did a little bit of upfront, just baseline monitoring to be able to come up with this is what we're looking to do more, then it would be
so it's
eligible.
Do a little bit more homework.
Exactly.
And then come back for the next round.
Yeah. So we'll get back to them and give them some feedback.
Is that similarly the case with the enhanced wetland restoration design? Are we like, why not do the award there?
That was, the committee didn't feel that the site that was identified for that was really appropriate for that method of treatment. So maybe a different project would be more suitable for that site. But doing kind of like a shoreline stabilization with significant plantings there just didn't seem like it was going to be effective and actually work out. So they questioned that.
So they so they could come back next time with a different plan.
Alter their project, or maybe work with the committee, get a little bit more feedback on something that would work. This is the funding tier guide for our wastewater projects only. We did do an update to this in 2026. So I highlighted the relevant categories for today. So that would be for the modified existing multifamily high density residences. Previously, the awards were calculated based on the flow of the site. And now it's the same as our commercial properties, which is justified installation costs only. For properties located within the water protection district, they're eligible for 65% of those installation costs. And if they're outside of the water protection district, it's 50%. And then commercial properties were previously capped at $200,000 grants, and now they're capped at $300,000. So those were the changes that we made for this year. Just a quick review of the scoring criteria of how the committee considers different projects. So we have, it's a little small in here, so I'm not sure if you can really read it, but we have a series of mandatory criteria, which are based on the CPF law. So that includes the project has to have a measurable water quality improvement, benefits need to exceed 5 years, project can't be required by a consent order, stipulation agreement or order of consent, has to be demonstrated technology, so it's proven to work. They have to demonstrate property ownership, project has to be feasible, and they can't have violations. And then we go into the actual scoring criteria. It's heavily weighted on the water quality components, so that's like 50% of the score. And then we look at cost factors, that's 10%, and then project readiness and goals is 27.5%, and then maintenance, monitoring, and evaluation criteria just makes up the rest. So we use this to compare different projects to each other. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to get into the recommended projects now. So the first one we saw last year, it's for 151 North Main Street in East Hampton. They were recommended by the Water Quality Committee last year, but they withdrew because the award was not significant enough. So that's part of the reason why the committee reconsidered the wastewater ranking criteria for figuring out how much to award per project. So they reapplied given that those changes were made. So this is an upgrade of a conventional septic system for a multifamily home It's a two-family, five-bedroom residence with 600 gallons per day of flow. It falls under the other single-family home standards for the county, so they pretty much are required to meet the commercial standards, and that's why we made those changes to more match how commercial properties are calculated. So this is a reduction of a point source in the Hook Pond watershed. It's actually located outside of the Water Protection District, so they're only eligible for 50% of the installation costs, but it is in an area with shallow groundwater, and this area does contribute significant runoff to the Hook Pond watershed at Methodist Lane. So the committee, even though it's not in our priority area, saw it as a priority project. So they're eligible for $35,216, and the committee is recommending that.
And do you think that's enough money to incentivize
I did speak with
them?
the applicant last year, and they basically said that they would need to get at least 50% to move forward. So I'll have a conversation with them after this, but it should be enough of an incentive. We recommended last year only just over 20,000, so there's $15,000 more. This is just the site plan for that project, showing the system would be located in the back of the property. It's pretty limited space. They do need leaching galleys because it's shallow groundwater. And they did need to make the system itself traffic rated to go under the parking area. Next slide. So the next application is another reapplication from the Nappy Camping Club, located on Crasson Boulevard for a community IA system to serve 39 trailers. And this would be replacing 25 existing cesspools on the property. This project's kind of a long time coming. They've been working on this for several years. So I think this is the third time we've seen it, but it's definitely improved over time. It's a high flow voluntary upgrade. Their design flow is over 8,000 gallons per day, and they're using a best fit flow based on their actual water use. So it's 5,700 gallons per day. By installing the new system, we would expect a reduction in nitrogen load of over 700 pounds of nitrogen per year to Nappy Harbor. It is in the 0 to 2 year groundwater travel time. So it's high ranking. They requested a little over $800,000, and they'd be eligible for a grant of $469,430, which is 65% of the installation costs. So this is what's being recommended. Next slide. And this just shows the site plan of where they're proposing the new system, as well as an aerial just to kind of show the proximity to Nappy Harbor. It's really right on top of it. So this is a high priority for the Water Quality Committee. Next slide. So this is our last reapplication. This is from DNR Realty Group, 28 Maidstone Park Springs, operating as Rita Cantina. I think this is the third time this one's come in. They applied for the commercial IA septic upgrade. It is in a priority area within the 0 to 2 year groundwater travel time to Sunset Cove and 3 Mile Harbor, which is an area that does have water quality concerns and algae blooms in recent years. The restaurant flow is a little over 2,000 gallons per day. The system is actually already installed. So they applied, when they originally applied, they were eligible. So this has just been a rollover. So the committee is recommending from purely the merits as a water quality improvement project to award $70,038, which would be 65% of their installation costs. And then this would be after audited to ensure that the property is in compliance with town code before they would be eligible for the award. And this is just the site plan. So they did install a commercial system for the restaurant as well as residential for an on-site apartment upstairs, 2 different systems. And then this is just showing the proximity to 3 Mile Harbor there. Next slide. So our first new application for 2026, this is a proposal to upgrade the on-site septic system serving Treescape Condominium Homeowners Association 11B. We did get section 11A last year. They're totally different ownerships. It's 3 systems serving several condo units each, so it's 8 buildings, 4 units in each, 32 condos. Pretty significant amount. It's 6 Fuji Clean IAs with a flow of 9,600 gallons per day. So the expected nitrogen reduction to 3 Mile Harbor would be over 1,200 pounds per year, which is significant. They are located in the Water Protection District within the 2 to 10 year groundwater travel time to the harbor, and builds on some town efforts to improve the head of the harbor in this area. So they got a 92 out of 100. They requested over around $650,000. They're eligible for 65% of the install costs, which is $416,280, which is the recommendation from the committee.
Has the 11A, has that been installed?
Hasn't been installed yet. They, I believe, just got their permits, so they're moving forward.
Great.
And I did ask if there would be some cost savings if they were to be able to install them at the same time. But based on, I think, having completely different homeowners associations and the timing, as this one hasn't really gotten started yet, it wouldn't really work out. But a good idea. So this just shows the aerial of the properties that this encompasses, as well as how close to 3 Mile Harbor this project would be, and then the site plans with the IA systems. Next slide. The next application is another commercial IA upgrade. Was submitted by the property owner as the applicant, which is Marina Basarhelia LLC, which would be, it's the proposed location for roadside Rita. It's an upgrade of an on-site failed system at 2095 Montauk Highway, which is the former Best Pizza. They have a flow of 3,900 gallons per day and grandfathered at 120 seats. They're proposing a Norweco hydrokinetic IA system. The total nitrogen reduction to Napeague Harbor would be a little over 500 pounds per year. This is in the 0 to 10 year groundwater travel time to Napeague Harbor, and would incentivize an upgrade in a priority area of a failed septic system. So they got a 93 out of 100. The total cost of the project is a little over $700,000. I believe they're aware of our restrictions, so they requested $300,000, and that's what they're eligible for. So that's what the committee is recommending.
You've been waiting for this one, haven't you?
Yeah, this one's needed. Next slide. So this shows the site plan of what they're proposing to do, and then an aerial kind of showing the proximity to Napeague Harbor, as well as you can see the wetlands in between. So this would be, a good one to get in the ground. Next project is from the New York State Center for Clean Water Technology, and it's the installation of a 250-foot injection-based permeable reactive barrier to treat nitrogen between 10 and 20 feet below ground, they're proposing at 66 Wayne Scott Main Street, which is the recently acquired town-owned CPF property. So the goal is to target and remove legacy nitrogen in groundwater before it enters Wayne Scott Pond. The Center for Clean Water Technology did do some initial testing before they submitted this application last year, and found between 4 and 15 milligrams per liter of nitrogen in the groundwater, which is pretty high. So that's why they're looking to do this project. They're aiming to reduce 130 pounds of legacy groundwater nitrate annually. The load reduction target set through the Suffolk County Subwatershed Wastewater Plan is 63% for Wayne Scott Pond. 60% of that load is from agriculture. So we can't really address that by just upgrading sanitary systems. We need to have other methods in order to meet that goal. So this is a reduction of groundwater inputs to Wayne Scott Pond, a priority water body, which suffers from regular harmful algal blooms annually. To date, we haven't been able to fund a CPF water quality project in this water body. But now that we have this public access through 66 Wainscott, Maine, it's feasible now. So this scored an 89 out of 100. They requested $309,529, and that's the recommendation from the committee.
Just quick question on this one, because the 67% from agriculture groundwater, just looking at Dr. Gobler's reports on that pond, it's slightly different to that number. Can you just explain what's driving that?
So the goal was set by the Suffolk County Subwatershed Management Plan, so it could be, that's based on modeled data through the county program. And I believe Dr. Gobler was involved in that process, but CDM Smith did all the modeling for the county. And I'm not sure what data Dr. Gobler's work is based on. It could have been, I'm not sure if he was looking at nitrate, bacteria.
Yeah, no, I think it was the water quality was due to more sedimentation and septic systems around the area. There was not reports of agriculture in that, his analysis. So it's just interesting seeing that there.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it a little bit further to come to a conclusion, but he also probably was looking at phosphorus a lot in Wainscott Pond because it is, you know, a closed off water body. It's not brackish.
Yeah. So just to piggyback off that a little bit, is there a way to differentiate between agricultural fertilizers and residential? Because, you know, presumably there's a lot of lawn fertilizers as well that would, I think, show up in the same way.
I'm not sure. I think there would need to be a further analysis of maybe like dating the nitrogen. I'm not really sure. Because they're just looking at nitrate, which is the soluble form of nitrogen that's, you know, usable by plants for feeding harmful algal blooms. So I think the goal really is to just reduce the nitrogen rather than try to figure out who's at fault. And I think combination of doing some groundwater treatment as well as some education is kind of the way to get there and see how this evolves. And Dr.
And just
Gobler's
for the
team-
residents, I just give a shout out to the septic rebate program where you can, between the county, the state and the town, put in a new system at very little cost, if any, to them. We have an ability, you can apply for that through natural resources. I'll just shout that out for the residents.
And so this is on the town piece of property where the barrier will be going in?
Yes.
And just, Jake, I mean, just if the property had been landmarked, would we have had more challenges in doing this?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to research.
Okay.
Yeah, to this point, we really haven't had the opportunity to do anything.
It's a great opportunity. It's really a big part of the reason for this purchase for me was that pond is in such dire shape.
Yeah.
Toxic.
Need to do something.
Yeah, it's great. It was a
Yeah,
great
so
opportunity.
the blue locations are where they did some monitoring last year, and the red indication is where they're proposing to do the PRB. So groundwater flow is kind of the southeasterly direction, so this is the only place they can really site the PRB on this property to actually target the groundwater coming into the pond. Otherwise, they'd miss it.
So interesting.
Next slide. And then this is the last project being recommended today. This is from Clear Bays Environmental for long-term monitoring of a previously installed permeable reactive barrier at Pussy's Pond in Accabonac Harbor. This was installed in 2016. It was a town project. It's actually one of the first projects I worked on when I got hired. Can't believe it's been 10 years. It was a wood chip-based permeable reactive barrier. The town worked with Cornell Cooperative Extension at the time. Ron Paulson, who's the lead of Clear Bays, actually was the lead on this project when he was at Cornell. They tested different wood chip types to determine which was the most effective. So they looked at oak, pine, and then a combination of maple and cherry. The average nitrate reduction was 82% from the initial testing. And they found that the maple and cherry was the most effective. The thought was maybe that the higher sugar content or something in the wood chips had an impact, but maybe that the pine, which was lower performing initially, might have a longer lifespan. So that's something that they want to look at here with the long-term monitoring. There hasn't been any monitoring in the past 5 years. The goal is to determine the long-term efficacy of the existing remedial activities in this area and assess if we need to do more work, if we need to amplify this PRB or extend it to capture the plume of nitrogen coming in from the residential areas upgrade. They're proposing overall 128 samples over 3 years. This includes 30 points to be sampled in the PRB, 5 surface water stations, and 7 pore water stations. It's a water quality improvement to groundwater at the shoreline of Accabonac. It got an 83 out of 100, and they're requesting $49,750. So that was the recommendation from the committee. So this is a low-cost monitoring of remedial activities in an area where heavy focus has been placed on improvements of various types. So the comparison of the 2016 water quality data that was collected from the pond to current levels can indicate overall trends in water quality and impacts of all the work that we've done. Next slide. So it's a little dark, but this aerial shows Pussy's Pond and then the sampling locations. So the dark blue along the shoreline is the permeable reactive barrier stations. The light blue is the surface water points, and then the red dots are the pore water stations. Anybody that doesn't know what pore water is, it's at the groundwater saltwater interface at the subsurface. So it's really capturing the groundwater nitrogen that's coming in to the water body. It's using specialized equipment that's patented, so only this company can really do this to get that pore water. Next slide. And this is showing the location of the permeable reactive barriers. It was actually 2 different methods that they used at the time. We did a wood chip trench, which the wood chips were in burlap bags and placed in the subsurface, as well as they used these plastic conicals that were filled with the different types of wood chips with sampling points throughout. And then the upland area was actually a subject of Phragmites removal. Both of these projects were completed in 2016 by the town. So this is just a summary of the recommended projects, the total award recommendations, if all make it through public hearing and are approved by the town board, would be 1.65 million. The next step would be to set up the public hearing. I would be ready to submit the notices for the 7th if that works for the board, or we can push it a little later. So then the public hearings would be on the 21st. And we're not currently proposing a round 2 for 2026 based on available funds.
So this is just the one round. Yeah.
Just on the Clear Bays one, sorry to kind of reiterate the point, just the revegetation plan that they're kind of looking at, is that tied into the prior removal of the Phragmites in the area, or completely?
For the last project, it was actually not in that area. It was for the outlet of Pussy's Pond, adjacent to Springs General Store. It's that bank. So they were partnering with the Springs General Store to do enhanced shoreline restoration there, but the committee members didn't think it was a suitable site for that method.
So I'll start off as the liaison to the Water Quality Technical Advisory Committee. I want to thank you. I also want to thank the chairman, Billy Hayjack, and all the other members, and including all the staff of the town for the review on these projects then too. I'm just going to go through my list here. I hope it's enough of an incentive on the North Main Street one. I would support that, and that Beat Camping Club. I believe there's tremendous benefit there, and if we add in also what's happening at the other one at Roadside Rito or whatever it's going to be now, that's 2 locations in that area, including the old Cyril's that was upgraded recently. So many of those now we're starting, and across the street at Driftwood. One of the hotels we're starting to see, just as we've seen on Lake Montauk now, maybe some other areas, we're starting to see the area of Nepean Harbor, which is still one of the jewels of the Peconic Estuary, starting to encapsulate more commercial establishments with large-scale denitrification projects. So I think that's part of the certification that we looked at as a town board, to increase the funding loads into that also. And as we can continue to go, I hope to see more of those. I'm still on my position for the 28 Maidstone Park. I don't support funding projects that already been installed. That's the same as my position in the past. At the treescape on there at 11B on the treescape, I think that it comes, if it's $416,000 at 32 units, it's $13,000 a unit on there. That's actually less than if they were single and separate unique structures on there. So I think that's a great bang for the buck on there then too. And again, to get into that area of the headwaters of Three Mile Harbor in that location, there's been a lot of progress. I agree with that. Or I talked about Rita, the roadside one on Nepegue, as long as that goes up to the ZBA determination. There is a ZBA determination on that property. I believe that some of the outdoor seating might be on top or near where there's current or septic system is here, including outdoor noise on that. So we got to make sure that that's completed also.
Okay.
And the other two, as far as Wainscott Pond, I agree with the rest of my town board members here. I think part of the impetus for the purchase of the $56 million property was to look forward to this next project. I just want to make sure that the design of this project doesn't inhibit any future use of the land as far as the design and the location, which I don't think it does.
Yeah, we did
It's underground,
bring that up.
isn't it?
So we interviewed Center for Clean Water Technology. I'm sorry, what did?
It's underground, the
Yeah,
permeable
so
barrier.
it's subsurface. These are
caps, you wanna make sure-
temporary.
Yes, correct.
So they basically would drill a core, fill it with wood chips, and it would, at grade, you wouldn't see anything. They would need to have some sampling points, but they said they were flexible with working with the town on that. Maybe if they needed to move it maybe a little closer to the pond to be outside of any activity or proposed use of that parcel, they'd be willing to do that.
Yeah, and I look forward to hearing more property owners around that pond to come in for their own septic upgrades of their houses then too. It'd be nice to know what percentage of those houses
Yeah,
are in that
might be a
location
good
are.
targeted outreach we could do.
Correct. And as far as clear bays on there, I think this comes back to, I always talk about long-term maintenance. If we were good for 5 years, but it hasn't been monitored for 5 years at a 10-year project on there, that doesn't help the long-term goals of the town. So providing that long-term maintenance or review that we're doing here, I think is only appropriate with the funding on there. Because now that we're funding the testing and the monitoring on there, we're gonna see what type of curve we get, and hopefully it's a downward trend of nitrogen loading into our subsurface waters, our surface waters and subsurface waters. So I support all those. And I thank you again. And to the supervisor, thank you for putting this on at this time frame, because I know it was a little bit of a
But
rush.
shouldn't it also get improved because of the septic upgrade at the school? So would that?
So that actually comes in on the other side of the pond. But yeah, the school has upgraded. We have a permeable reactive barrier at the Springs General Store site. The Springs General Store got a grant last year or the year before for an IA upgrade. The town has upgraded the Springs Library. We awarded Ashwa Hall. We awarded Springs Presbyterian Church. So pretty much that whole area right around the pond has been upgraded. The 2 adjacent property owners as well, residential upgrades.
Yeah, they're starting to see large blocks, and that takes time to be able to do that. And sometimes it takes more than one term of an administration to do that. I think that's what the supervisor is seeing here. Same thing with the Pathfinder coming on Thursday. To get these blocks together takes consistency in government, and that's what I thank the supervisor for providing.
And we have monitoring data from 2015 and 2016 in the pond, so comparing that to now would be very interesting to see with all those projects that have been in the ground. Rain gardens that we've installed, things like that.
Yeah. Right, the rain garden right there by the blacksmith shop.
I'm not a fan of that one.
It's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of a bioswale, I guess, at this point.
Yes, well, yeah. It's hard to grow the
plantings. We had mile a minute come in there. It was, so yeah, not.
I noticed that in a lot of, like the Springs Fireplace Road, I do know that people mowed the plants down, which doesn't help the rain garden when you remove the beneficial plants, but it doesn't seem like, I have to see more actual success on rain gardens. For what we have here for native.
Yeah.
You're starting to see it at Sokides a little bit. If you go down by Sokides Road.
We just did maintenance.
Yeah, we've had to replant that one a couple times because there's so much water flow that goes down there, and they put some riprap in there to stop the water flow. But you're starting to see the natural irises come in there a little bit. If you sort of see, actually what it's looking like the rest of the nature preserve that's there. But but it took a little bit to be able to do.
We had those rain bombs, right? And
yeah, that
was
got
That was
washed out more than
devastating,
once.
washed out
Yeah.
everything.
But we're learning as we go.
I agree with David's recommendations. I also, the 28 Maidstone Park, I don't know if they're in compliance. I don't know, David, your position on, if you just talk to me about your position on reimbursement?
Sure. So last time I believe that this didn't move forward because they weren't in compliance on there. I think that was the majority of the board. For myself, it's a project that's installed. They should get the grant funding award prior to installation.
Is that something we can do with code?
It's more policy.
I think it's policy.
This is a policy.
So when they originally applied, they were eligible. If they had not previously applied, like if this was their first time, they wouldn't be eligible. So that's something that would be considered. Yeah.
Okay.
Say that again?
So basically the committee, based on our seasonality of our community, made a policy that the septic system, if they installed before they applied, would have had to be installed basically between rounds. They couldn't install it and then 3 years later apply for a grant. So they basically installed last spring, they applied or 2 years ago, I think, spring, and they were eligible. But if they had never applied before and applied just now with their system installed being 2 years ago, we wouldn't have considered them.
But are they in compliance?
That's
a Jake question.
But no project.
I mean, could you give me a memo on if they're in compliance or not before I can support?
We could, it's going to depend on two things. One, confirmation with code enforcement. And second, there is, or are the pending 2 Supreme Court cases, which we are waiting on.
And part of the RFQ and the application clearly states that no project can be awarded or move ahead without town compliance of all regulations, regulatory boards and such. So they wouldn't be able to be, if the board looks favorable on awarding the funds to this applicant, they still have to prove that they're in compliance on there. This is more looking at it as the water quality benefit for myself. it's just my
Sunset Cove is pretty bad.
My sticking point.
That's the Water Quality Committee was purely looking at it from a water quality
Because
improvement.
Sunset Cove is.
But we've had public hearings for them to award this, didn't we?
I think it got pulled before it made it to a hearing.
We didn't hear it because they weren't in compliance. So
Right.
because this
Yeah.
has been, and the Supreme Court actions have been going on for several years. So from my perspective, I wouldn't want to hear it right now because, until there's compliance, there's really, from me, there's no discussion. There's no
I agree.
conversation to be had here.
And there could be a policy that they need to be in compliance at the date of when they did the project, if that would clarify.
Yeah, so we'll need to fine tune that.
Okay.
And then what was your point on the roadside Rita? Because that's easier to say than Marina's
that's
last
the property
name.
owner.
No, I'm very knowledgeable of that property, that there is zoning board determinations on that property. That would just have to be reviewed. As part of this. It probably might have has already been done, but I know that's a known zoning board determination for their current septic system.
There were conditions.
They were in compliance, but that might have been 2 months ago when I was looking.
The conditions of their approval? I mean, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah, and it's the same with.
Determination is conditions of approval.
Of course, same with any of these projects. I just wanted to make sure of that one, because I know I've heard in the past about that. I'm acutely aware of the situation there with the zoning board determination.
Okay, yeah, I will look into it with planning.
Yeah, I think I share the opinion. I mean, I think, look, if Rita is in compliance, I personally don't have an issue giving it retroactive, given the history of how it took to install it, and that we've achieved a goal of reducing the water night. I think the more we encourage people to do that, the better. With the property, the Rita Roadside, I mean, that place has been so notorious for the septic, like bubbling up. For that commercial building to operate, it has to have an applicable system that works. So, as in how ZBA rules, I'm supportive of that.
Oh, so I apologize, Tom. So it's already, it has a CBA determination maybe like 20 years ago, and they're just, they're, yeah, they just have to be in compliance with that determination.
Ian, did you?
Yeah, I agree. I support all the recommendations. I think the outlier is Rita Cantina and Maidstone. I'm okay with, I think, retroactively, if they knew it was a plan and they wanted to make a deadline. This is a little bit messier because they are not in compliance with town, site plan decisions right now. I know that they're challenging that because they don't believe that that decision was legal. But I think Kathy was right that we shouldn't hear it at this time. I want to keep an open mind about going back, because if it turns out they were to win that case against the town, it would be hard to fault them for, exercising their right. But, 2 years after, with sort of legal back and forth, it's getting harder to be supportive. Although I also agree with Tom that we have to keep our focus on water quality. But in this case, it's already in.
Yeah. So I think from my perspective, we're going to do separate hearing notices. We started doing that a while back. And I agree with David on the 151 North Main Street, the Napeak Camping Club, Treescape. I think maybe we hold off noticing roadside Rita, and just so there's time to review that ZBA determination. And then
I would
want to hear it?
I would hear
You
it.
would hear it, and then
I would hear it because if they're not in compliance, they can't get anyway. We just don't
okay.
approve it.
All right, then.
We don't sign the contract.
And they're not operating right now.
Right, although there's, vehicles parked there. Wainscott Pond, and then the Accabonac Harbor.
Okay, so notice all of them
with the exception of
7th?
Yeah, with the exception of 28 Maidstone Park.
And then if it comes to light that they're later in compliance within this calendar year, they could be heard at that time.
For what we'll have to have have a discussion whether we retroactively award them $70,000. All right, beautiful.
History,
Thank you so much, Zach.
history of the day, roadside Rita was actually the original Napeak train station. It's a train stop.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Boom.
Boom.
You're welcome, Jake. I know you're asking,
Yeah,
you're thinking about that, weren't you, sir?
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks,
Melissa.
Melissa.
You can't be jealous.
Thank you, David, for manning the PowerPoints today. We're grateful for you for doing that. Okay, we're up to, what time is it now? 2:00. We're up to liaison reports.
Right, actually makes it quick. Amagansett Citizens Advisory Committee is meeting next Monday, 6:30 PM at the school library. Human Services, if we could bring up the flyer if possible, Jason. I also just want to announce that Zumba is canceled for next Wednesday, May 6th. Hopefully the flyer comes up. There's a technology talks series taking place. This is something Dan Patricio, who leads that department, is implementing just to help residents, both with how to use technology more effectively in their lives, but also how to address the growing concerns of cybercrime and avoiding scams. So it's an ongoing program that's taking place. This month's topics, that they'll be covering in there, online bill payments, cleaning up your email inbox, staying connected with family and online bill payments, learning new tricks, cleaning your inbox, organizing photos, apps to simplify your life, video communication, stay safe and healthy, phone and PC general info, security tips, cyber scams, safety, security settings, and health apps. Sanitation, we are installing the rebar at the sanitation lean-to in preparation for concrete, which is hopefully being poured this week. East End Fire Commissioners, there's a meeting this evening. I've also been in discussion through the Commission of the Chiefs with Paul Mara, who's the Suffolk County EMS coordinator, just to understand kind of timing for them and the commissioners with regards to, discussing the future of EMS on the East End. Wildlife Management Advisory Committee, said some back and forth. Coming out of the last meeting we had, there was discussion that, as we move forward with this project, the first step likely, and the use of the funds, will be to conduct a survey of the deer population. There's been some back and forth on this, based on the fact that, look, we have significant evidence to kind of show deer overpopulation in the town, be it from the destruction of habitat ecosystems, car impacts, etc. So, there's discussion, should we move forward without the deer count at the start? I think, the purpose of the deer count at the start is for us to begin consistent monitoring of the deer population. So we really have a measured assessment of how any interventions we might take are impacting the deer population. So it's something that we've been working with the State Parks Department on, defining methodology and identifying what we might want in terms of an RFP for that to take place. Then lastly, Business Committee, there's a memo submitted to the members of the town board. I'll paraphrase this mostly, but it focuses around a few things with regards to concerns within the building department, wanting to get some understanding of addressing staff gaps, exploration of alternative support, reducing the backlog by separating legacy and new applications, and evaluating policy changes, CFO requirements, setting clear performance goals, what is the correct turnaround that we should be looking for, with defined timelines of when we're going to see those improvements. And then improving transparency through public dashboards and monthly reporting application status metrics, leveraging OpenGov 2.0 with public training and better data reporting capabilities, and then just increasing our accountability as a town board, as to how and when we're going to fix this. I'll say that from the committee's perspective, it was not majority opinion. It was a 5-3 split with 2 abstainings. The key reason for that was discussion as to, should the town pursue the policy of repealing or changing the CFO law? That's where the dissension came. So it's one where, there's obviously varying full thoughts on how we address that going forward. I think the key piece coming from the business committee is that we have to start reporting how many COs we're putting out on a monthly basis versus how many permits we've got coming in. How many transactions are we actually getting through versus what's coming in, and how we're addressing this. So that public reporting is really being requested. And then the last thing requested in there is for the chief building inspector and Kate, if possible, to come to the next business committee meeting on the 20th and just kind of discuss these options.
Yeah, I can't speak for the chief building inspector, and I just want to note, any time taken away from what he's doing reduces the time to clear up the backlog, but I'm happy to attend.
So we could just, I asked Becky earlier because I talked to Rich this morning. So, we've hired this year 5 new positions, right? We hired Jennifer Lappin as the account clerk. Larry Zimmerman started as a building plans examiner. Cynthia Schneider started as senior office assistant. Charmaine Daniels started as an office assistant yesterday. We're going to be having a resolution on to hire another buildings plans examiner, so we'll have both those positions filled. And earlier today, I met with a potential candidate to be our Spanish-speaking building inspector. So we're just waiting on approval from civil service, and then that resolution can go on. And,
And I would just add that, if I may, I would just add it would be probably beneficial to listen to the express sessions where Kathy and Rich outlined remote offices and other goals that we have.
The committee did review that. We provided minutes to them. I think that was actually something that came back, which was kudos to the Express for doing that public work session. But that is something the committee members feel like we should be doing at town hall, because this is such a major issue. It shouldn't be something people have to get tickets to kind of go and ask those questions.
Well, it's free to hear it. They can listen to it.
Right, but to ask the questions and to give the public the opportunity generally to speak to this issue, because it's become so widely impacting, to the point, the building department falls under public safety. We didn't have them today talking about stuff. I think it's one of those issues that it would be healthy for us to, allow members of the public to come in and hear their concerns.
Well, we have public comment 5 times a month, right? And our doors are all always open, so people can come and make an appointment with any one of us at any point. And also, if you recall, express sessions happened a week after we learned that 2 staff members, that there was a DA's investigation. So for 18 months, we weren't really free to speak about all of this. So it all just kind of, the timing was actually impeccable that, the news broke of the DA's investigation, and we had a long form, opportunity, which I was very grateful for, to the Express News Group, to be able to give us that forum to be able to have, this frank discussion among,
And I was just referring to the amount of suggestions, the goals that we have stated, timeframes. We have stated consistency, predictability, as we rebuild that department from those incidences that happened. And I'll just reiterate the stress that a DA's investigation and that type of incidents had on the staff, who, again, I want to thank the long-term staff members, because living through that was quite difficult and time-consuming on their part. But yes, every suggestion is great, and I'm happy to attend on the 20th. That's the Zoom link you sent me?
Yes.
I didn't know what that was. Okay, great. I have to respond.
Okay. David?
Okay. The Montauk CAC changed from last night. Our meeting is tonight at 6 o'clock. That was to accommodate my daughter, my desire to go to my daughter's softball game. So I appreciate everyone, and they were all good with that. As far as letting everyone know, we met with the contractor that will be reinstalling, removing sand from the parking lot to Dish Plains Beach, and then also putting sand back on the beach in the dune system there. That work is scheduled to begin the week of May 11th, and will take up to about 2 weeks to do, weather depending. More information to come on there. Continue to let the board know. The Westlake boat ramp is substantially complete and being used. Last things going up there is some signage, and also areas of no parking for turnaround areas that might be closer to the water, as the individual users that might be used to what was there in the past have to get used to what's there now. But overall, it looks great, and hopefully everyone understands that the water quality benefit, they were just have to supersedes a little bit of the challenges of the first couple of times of putting in your boat. But overall, I want to thank everyone for that project. I believe that we also got $100,000 for that project from the county then too. So thank you, Madam Supervisor. At Stephen Hand's Path, the parking areas, I believe they're actually paving today for the parking areas, which give us about another 60 plus new parking spots. If not, it's going to be maybe tomorrow, the rain, but they're prepping and preparing for that. What I want to let everyone know on that one is that we're not immune to what happens at the federal government level out here. And the reason why I say in our annual paving contracts that we have for certain tonnage of asphalt, which is a petroleum-based product right now, it's in our contracts that if by market rate they go up and down, it's going to go up. So we'll be paying more for the asphalt for this project based on what the petroleum and the cost of asphalt is right now based on the petroleum. I can only say that's based on some of the decisions of the federal government right now. So we are seeing that it's not a huge thing, but it is a way that it's affecting us locally. On to the better things. As you heard from Lisa Valchek today, we will be looking to install the pickleball courts and basketball courts at Stephen Hand's Path. I would like to try to get that on and hopefully maybe schedule even for a ceremony groundbreaking on that in the next couple of weeks on there. But overall, that project came far underneath our estimates, which is good news. Also happening today at the Oak Grove Cemetery on Windmill Ave and Amagansett, our contractors are installing the roadways for that. There, it is another step towards the expansion of that cemetery. I think the first time the town's expanding the cemetery in decades, besides Fort Hill Cemetery on there. This is a complete expansion. Surveying is going to have to be next, and then hopefully we get close to our offering plan. I'll bring that back to the town board when we get closer to that. At the Westlake Commercial Fishing Dock, decision has been, all the wood has been procured. The decision has been made to finish the landside work of that project, and then also at the T-Dock, which is an emergency slip on the end. We will not be working during the summertime. During the middle of that area, the contractor, the reason why is just too much interference with the commercial fishing fleet at this time, but all the wood has been procured and all the slip holders have been noticed on that also.
David, I was at the dock, I guess, a week or so ago.
Yeah.
And there's so much more parking now.
Yeah.
Since that project was done. I mean,
What, yeah.
fix the drainage issue that was down there. It's great.
It's a, thank you. Yeah, I think the project's working out well there. And another part about that is that the town board 4 years ago, we gave a location for the commercial fish industry to rent gear storage space.
Right.
So a lot of the gear that was being stored in those parking areas were mucking up the drainage systems. And now since that's been moved over, there's more parking. And I think we're going to do a little bit of some street landscaping down there also then too.
Right.
So yeah, so that's good. That's all good news. So that's moving ahead there too. Let's see here. Last thing, in talking with Steve Lynch also, they're preparing for the line striping. And there's gonna be a lot of line striping, not just on the highways, but also in some of our beach road ends. So please be aware of freshly marked line striping that will be upcoming. Typically line striping happens in the middle of the night, but sometimes at our road ends might be in the morning then too. That's upcoming as we prepare for summer season. And that's all I have.
Thank you, David. Kate?
Yes, I'll start with the Wayne-Scott CAC met last Saturday in person. They reviewed and had a discussion about the HMMH presentation on the airport. They talked about the recommendations that they would like to see brought forward, and they'll be sending in a letter of what they support. The topic of a stop sign came up again because thanks to you, Kathy, the speed limits were lowered on 2 of the main issue roads there, which is Wayne-Scott Northwest Road and Wayne-Scott Main Street. Wayne-Scott Stone Road, sorry, and Wayne-Scott Main Street. Michael, you distracted me. and so they had at our last meeting, the one before this one, via Zoom, they had Lieutenant Powers there talking about some data that the police department had collected, and they'd like to come back with a stop sign recommendation 1 for Northwest Road, the intersection of Northwest Road and Stone Road, Wayne-Scott Northwest Road and Wayne-Scott Stone Road. And I'd like some guidance on how to proceed with that recommendation. That was the largest topic of discussion, was that stop sign, as that intersection has to the residents, they feel like there's a visibility issue there. And it's the long way from the highway down Northwest Road, Stone Road, which is kind of still remains a place where there's speeding. The next, our RFP committee for the short-term rental technology solution completed their review of the folks who submitted last 2 days ago with a Zoom meeting with the top 2 respondents, and will be making a recommendation to the town board next week. And on Sunday, I went to the Killer Lawns presentation or discussion that Perfect Earth, Edwina Von Gaal, put on at Guildhall. It was very interesting, and it had to do with the health effects, the human health effects. There were doctors on the panel talking about the health effects of pesticide use on us, as well as the environment. And I look forward to the Sustainability Committee coming forth with their recommendations and education about sustainable landscaping. And right now, I'll stop there. That's all I have.
All right, beautiful. Ian?
Jason, would you mind bringing up those aerials that Chelsea sent over to you?
Copy that. Just give me a second to do that.
Thank you very much. So Jason's bringing up some aerials. There are 2 properties in Springs, the Seal Downs property and the Nancy Kelly Preserve. They've both been, by resolution, named nature preserves. There's just one more step in the process, which is to add them to the list in the code, which would require a public hearing. I would like to complete that process. Here is the first photo of Nancy Kelly Preserve, and can you go to the next one, please?
Seals.
Also here, and then the last one is Seal Downs. So again, we've already named them by resolution nature preserves. I would just like to schedule a public hearing to complete that process. And I'm planning on noticing that on Thursday. Thank you, Jason. The Maidstone Playground construction project is underway. It's still anticipated that'll be completed by Memorial Day, which is very exciting. That was a long time in the making, and I think it's coming along nicely. The Springs Park mugwort remediation, remember there's a donation of services from the Long Island Conservancy to help remove some mugwort, which is a really nasty invasive weed, and try to reestablish native meadow, grasses, and wildflowers. It'll be a small area, but it's free to us because it's been donated. And that's exciting because I think one of the there's a lot of invasive species in that park, but the mugwort is quite problematic. And so if we can sort of have a proof of concept through this donated service, I think that would be a great thing for the park long term. That could start as early as tomorrow, weather dependent. So just be aware if you're using that park that there might be some activity going on. The Property Management Committee will meet Wednesday, tomorrow at 4:30 in this room. Of course, that's open to the public as always. I also just want to touch on the bids. Today, Lisa Valsich mentioned that there was a windows bid put out there, and that's a really big deal to me personally. The Springs Library and other historic windows around town are in rough shape, and it's been very hard to find qualified people to, through New York State rules to actually replace them. And so there's a few windows there that need to be replaced quite badly. I want to thank Becky, Jeannie, our outside engineer, Matt Jedlicka, for, creating a bid to get somebody under contract for when we have these one-off windows that need to be replaced in, the proper historic way, that we now have somebody we can just call and hire. So I look forward to that contract being completed and moving on the Springs Library window replacement. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Ian. So the Latino Advisory Committee met last Saturday at 8 a.m. and some of the things we talked about included their support for the local law, Chapter 211, public safety and accountability. And we went on to discuss the composition of the task force. If you recall, that legislation has 12 members and 3 ex officio members. So we went through each category and they made their suggestions, and I will be bringing back a recommendation in the next few weeks. They also are considering starting an affordable housing subcommittee, and we brainstormed potential videos that we could produce, including building trust with the police, human services and transportation, e-bikes, town recreation programs and summer camp, and just other general information related to the town. I also shared with them that one of the youth advocate members of the LAC, John Lopez, is going to be an intern in my office this summer. He starts May 12th, and he's going to be working 3 days a week. You'll see him at our meetings, and he and Patrick are going to be working on the video project, and John is bilingual and will be reviewing the website as well to see where we need additional documents translated, because he's a tremendous translator too. The East Hampton Sag Harbor CAC met last night. Some of the old business we discussed was the e-bikes. I think I talked about it when Captain Martin was here. We also talked some new business topics. One was the concerns of speeding on Long Lane, particularly now that the speed limit was reduced from 40 to 30. So I'm going to reach out to PD. I'm sure they've been putting signs out there, but the neighbors were concerned about the speed and being passed on that road. Also came up I had to look this up, modified exhaust assemblies that create a loud popping noise on deceleration. They wanted to know what the town could do. It's a little bit different than jack braking. So this is for, people's personal cars. So Jake, I need to have a conversation because they found some state legislation. So maybe, you could have somebody in your office look into it. We also had a conversation about affordable housing in general, as well as the potential acquisition of 549 and 550 Wainscott Northwest Road, which is on for Thursday. We had a couple of homeowners that live behind the neighborhood house attend, and they voiced their concerns regarding the Project Most plans for that property. And I believe they're going to come back again to another meeting. And we also said that we should invite Project Most to a future meeting to educate the CAC about their plans. It's been a couple of years, and those plans have evolved over time. Thursday night, I'm going to have several resolutions on to hire engineers for 5 airport projects. These were discussed when we had a presentation back at a work session in February, and then again when Jim Brundage made his 2026 goals presentation. So we're going to be hiring McLean to do 3 projects related to the fuel farm. We have to do improvements to the control panel. We need to repitch the tank, and we need to install a permanent generator there. And then we're going to be hiring JKL, which are airport-specific engineers, to do the runway 1028 joint and crack sealing and repair and the repaving of 1634. We put on social media, and I just wanted to announce today that there's an elevated risk for fire spread. Suffolk County has issued an elevated risk statement due to dry and windy conditions, and the New York State burn ban remains in effect through May 14th. So we just ask folks to, use common sense when doing any kind of burning or anything in their, at their homes. We probably have seen in the news that there's a possible Long Island Railroad strike. Yesterday, the town administrator, Becky Hansen, and Public Information Officer Patrick Durenz was on a call with Long Island Railroad officials that they had with municipalities, acknowledging that union talks continue. However, they are not ready to approve any agreements. If the union chooses to strike, the earliest they could do that would be midnight, May 16th. We have advised department heads to begin thinking about possible remote work for any affected employees or flex time if it's requested. And the Long Island Railroad are going to be giving us continuing updates. I believe they're going to be holding a meeting every day next week for town officials. There was, I guess, Russell brought this up. So Emily Fisher, our new Human Resources Director, has spoken to Civil Service, and the town is going to be hosting a job fair on Saturday, June 6th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the main meeting room here at Town Hall. We will be promoting that on social media. Suffolk County Department of Civil Service will be on site along with HR staff. We've also got representatives from the police department. Russell mentioned that Heather was going to come from animal control, and Emily has sent out invitations to highway, sanitation, recreation, and building to see who wants to send representatives. And then I wanted to mention, I guess when everybody came in, you've noticed that volunteers have been busy over the weekend and Monday, bringing our pollinator gardens, waking them up, and there's been pruning, there's been edging. So, spring has sprung, that we're going to be that. And we're just so grateful for Change Hampton for all the energy and effort and volunteer hours they put into making Town Hall look so beautiful, and also, help the bees. Lastly, we have a big meeting Thursday night. We have 10 public hearings. We start with the public safety and accountability law. Then we've got public hearings on the Pathfinder acquisition. Then the acquisition.
134 Second House Road.
Right, I'm sorry, 134 Second House Road, where Pathfinder is now. We also, for acquisition for property for housing at 549, 550 Wainscott Northwest Road, and then there's a number of other affordable housing public hearings. And from what I'm hearing, there's going to be a lot of folks in attendance, a lot of folks on the line. So that'll be for Matt and Jason to handle. But I just want to ask folks, I'm hoping people will be respectful, and they will, as I always say, kindly keep their comments to 3 minutes. If folks have, more detail they want to provide to the board, the best way to do that is to send an email to our clerk, Hansen@ehamptony.gov, and Michael will distribute it to board members, and it will be part of the official record. So that's what I have for my liaison report, and we can move on to, I think we have a handful of resolutions today.
It's my pleasure to offer Resolution 2026-719. This is authorize a payment of prior invoices to Call Ahead Corporations, the invoices, dates, and amounts listed below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
720 is a temporary advance of funds for the whole A fund. This is the budget office directed to advance $232,400 from the whole fund, capital fund, for the project completion of the necessary renovations. This will be for the Montauk Playhouse.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have Resolution 2026-721. It's approval of various special events. This is for the arts at Duck Creek. There's quite a number of them. This, the way Duck Creek comes to the Special Events Committee, because they do full season of art exhibits and music exhibits, they put all of their applications in one time so that we can evaluate the whole season. So what's listed below is the entire art center at Duck Creek season for art and for music.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 722 is another approval of various special events in May and June 2026. One is the Showcase of Electrical Leaf Blowers Technology by Hampton at Town Hall on Saturday, May 16th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Next is the Springs Farmers Markets, Saturdays throughout the season to September. The next is for the Montauk Chamber of Commerce, Montauk's 2026 Farmers Market at the Montauk Green. Again, a whole series of dates. The Association of Amputee Surfers, AMP Surf Learn to Surf Clinic is by the beach access by near Bounce Beach, which is a business in Montauk. That's on Saturday, May 13th from 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. The Montauk Historical Society Beacon of Hope 4th Annual 5K Run Walk is happening Friday, May 20th, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. The Montauk Artists Association Art Show at the Green, and this is also on the Montauk, and it shouldn't say Village Green because it is just the Montauk Green. That's happening May 26th through May 28th, 12 to 5 each day. Next is Longhouse Reserve for their Longhouse 2026 Summer Benefit Utopia Annual Fundraiser. That's happening on Saturday, May 27th, 5:45 p.m. And then finally, the Montauk Chamber of Commerce 2026 Concerts on the Green. Happening every Monday through the season, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 723, this is to authorize a payment of a 2026 Property Owners Association fee for 20 Dorset Road in the amount of $380.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 724, this is to authorize attendance for the New York State Assessors Association meeting for Jill Massa, and the expenses will be covered for $35 plus the cost of the ferry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry. Aye.
Resolution 725, this is to authorize McKissack Appraisal Continuing Education online totaling 14 hours for Jill Massa, and the cost is $367.20.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 726, this is a budget modification for the Office of Housing and Community Development to increase the budget line for appropriated unreserved surplus in the amount of $175,000, and increase the budget line for subcontractor costs in the amount of $100,000, and increase the budget line for outside professionals in the amount of $75,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for CPF, litigation, advice of counsel, contracts, personnel.
Second. So there's no CPF, and we have public
Yes.
safety.
Yes, there will
Oh,
be.
there will be?
Yes.
Okay. And public safety.
Public safety.
Second.